Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg. And let's see, it's the 23rd day of August, 2024. Welcome to our show. I wanted to tell everybody out there, thank you so much for all of you who are, hold on a second, I'll be right back to this. To all of you who are at the Lincoln Day dinner and GOP dinner in Oakland County, had a great time. Got to talk with Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, and Kwame Kilpatrick, which was really interesting. Then I went to another event last night for John James and had it's very interesting. There's a lot of very interesting dynamics going on behind the scenes right now, and things are being moved around very, very quickly. And I just I've got a lot of processing to do this morning, which is kind of interesting. But at any rate, we're going to go right to my buddies here, my trusted friends, the friends who I love standing with, Dr. David Kent, Karen the Riveter, and Ralph the IT guys. Hi guys, how you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Karen.
Oh, she had to catch a chicken.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, sorry. I forgot that I was still muted.
Oh, that's funny. So your good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, it was a good one too. Good morning.
Good morning. So how you guys doing this morning?
Good. I saw a message that that Christy Nome and Tudor Dixon are going to be in St. Clair Shores Town Hall meeting. That's an odd mix. I was a little shocked to see that.
Well, I got to tell you, there's a lot of shocking things out there, and I got two of my screens here. I got to replug in a minute. There are so many things out there that are just shocking, and the parts that are being moved around right now it boggles your mind when you're out in the political arena, shall I say, and you're moving around between different political areas and such. You really get to see a picture of incredible, and I mean incredible, manipulation, lack of transparency, compartmentalization, lack of leadership,
Lies.
Just trust me kind of things going on.
Or here I am with somebody with a big name, so trust me.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I got to tell you, I think it's kind of an interesting time to be alive because there are choices that have to be made. But with all of us, and the choices, the farther you get into actually standing for something that you believe in, the harder the choices are to make. Because, and I'm going to liken this to remember when Luke Skywalker was on Star Wars, right? And he's watching all of
he woke friends. Now. Sorry.
What's that?
He's woke now. Sorry.
Right. They've always been woke. So anybody in that arena, I'm going to tell you right now, they got there by being compromised.
100%.
You don't have one, and I want to say effing person out there. You don't have one fucking person out there that hasn't been compromised. I'm going to tell you that right now. And
the celebrity worship is silly.
Celebrity worship is a problem. And there's a huge problem, and that's how they control people.
Yep.
And it's like the farther in you get, the more the tests are of whether you're just a real person, a regular person, or whether you're willing to make concessions in this area, that area, to be part of the machine, or to achieve your goals that you really know are the right way to go. Okay? And I remember that scene in Star Wars, and it's really applicable for this morning. There's two examples that I think we all need to look at. But anyhow, he was watching his friends being picked off, killed, and such. And Darth Vader was standing there with him, saying basically, trying to get him angry enough to move in a direction that looked like it would help his friends, and ultimately would have been his destruction and probably everybody else's. And he had to make that decision to put his anger down and do what he needed to do without being manipulated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus was offered the world. He was offered money, fame, glory. He was offered to be part of the system to save the world, and he walked away. And I have been offered so many things. You guys cannot believe how many things that I've been offered. Ultimatums, nutso people that I have to put up with their abuse as they're trying to absolutely beat me into submission. Happened last night. Last night that happened. 2 hours of a mental flogging by somebody who couldn't absolutely is not able to run an arena with withstanding manipulation and abuse and such. And so I got in last night late and had, again, lots of choices to make. Knowing that there are there's a lot in play, and anybody who is in the arena fighting for this nation is under attack almost full time. Sometimes the paths that are put in front of us are ones that they may seem like the right path at the time, but when you weigh out all the options, and you've got to weigh out all the options, at first blush it looks like, wow, this could be a really good thing. But then if you step back and you look at it, I mean, I've been given and promised the world. I've been promised the world in so many different ways, it's unbelievable. And you step back and you look at it, and you really have to make a decision on whether the ultimate goal is going to be achieved, which for me, it's standing before God Almighty and walking with him alone, doing what he says, not what anybody else says, or the promise of things being given to you or working out, where we can say, hey, we did this, we fixed this. Or do we step back and say, I'm willing to do whatever you ask me to do. It doesn't make any difference to me. But the path that God usually lays out in front of us is counterintuitive to what most people will bite on.
Interesting.
And I think this is a lesson, and we're going to have to talk about this, because one way or the other, the right path is usually never the path that is a headline path or a path of being included in something. Because if you're being included in something, what's the purpose?
Why are you being included?
Yeah. After I've been lied to, and I mean lied to by fucking everyone.
Well, look at how many times you could say Trump has been lied to.
Yeah.
And the cross that he picked up and bore, he had a choice, and he was probably given an ultimatum or at some point, but he made a choice, and he's had to make a lot of sacrifices, knowing that a lot of things don't seem quite right. So, I'm not trying to sway anything. I'm just saying.
No, I mean,
you
this
just
is
never
a good
know.
discussion to have, but because it's like the people that haven't lied to me are the four of you. I would have absolutely eradicated you from the planet, or decimated you if you had. But I mean, you know what I mean? It's like there's a difference between the people who are playing the political and intelligence games and the people like us that are normal people. You can play in any arena you want, but it's the question of, can you stomach it?
Donna, before you started this, were you in that arena in any way, shape, or form of politics and things like that?
I never even went to one event because I hated these people.
You were just a regular person.
I had never even been to a political thing because I hated these people.
Never been to town council meetings?
I went to the town council meetings, and I would fight issues, and I was really effective at fighting issues against the people that are sitting in the seats.
Okay.
Because when you're talking truth out there and not just being, you can look at it, and I'm going to say it right now. You're looking at the Tudor Dixon thing. We were talking about Tudor Dixon and Christy Nome. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm going to even say it right now. It's like Carrie Lake. She's a nice person. I went to events and I watched how they pushed her around. She's got handlers around her full time. She's a news anchor. She is a news anchor, people. She's never.
How do you get to be a news anchor? How do you get to be a news anchor?
Right.
Like everything else, how do you get there?
Who are telling these mouthpieces what to say? And I get it. There's got to be a group. There's got to be people that work together in a group. But when somebody hands down an ultimatum that says, that this is the way it's going to be, that's a big red flag to me.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Well, and think about the word anchor. Anchors are always attached to something by a chain or a rope.
There you go. You got Tudor Dixon, who's dumb as a freaking rock, but everybody wants to look at Little Miss Model there, whose dad was involved in selling big data. That's what they did. That family, if people would understand the things behind that family, Tudor Dixon's family was involved in global selling of information on people. They were surveillance people, and they sold information on people. And she was into Lumen Learning, which Lumen is awful close to Bill Gates' Lumen technology. 10 minutes. She had $5 million to make 10-minute segments to go into the schools. If anybody out there is dumb enough to believe this, I can't help you at this point. And she's standing there with Christy Nome, and there's another one that everybody should be questioning massively. They got great headlines. I'll tell you that. But I'm going to tell you what. I'm pretty extra sure that these people are not like you and I. Regular people, shit shovelers, shepherds, people who have not played the game.
Chicken wranglers.
Do you know her background? Christy Nome? I don't know. Christy Nome. I don't know much about her.
Some.
Although she seems to be perfect. The perfect governor. There's always something, right? Because I don't believe that you could get to be a governor, a billionaire,
which I am not.
Anything without, like you said, being compromised either voluntarily so you could play the game, or you didn't know that they were compromising you, but they got it on you. I don't think anyone can get anywhere in life without that.
At this point in time, I don't think anybody who's playing the game is there by honest means.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I've got a real ethical problem there, because my responsibility is only before God Almighty. Yeah. And if he wants me to do something, it'll be him that will say, hey, this is the direction I want you to go in. And I think that, the loyalty that I see, the lack of loyalty that I see out there in people that are in politics, it's always a loyalty to everyone but the American people.
The people you represent.
Yeah. Right. And
same with the news and everything else. They're all, there's no loyalty to reporting truthful. It's all lies, smoke, and mirrors.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, I've been lied to so many times. I mean, I could tell everybody out there, hold my beer at this moment in time, because the lies are so bad. The lying and the covering and the manipulation, it's full-time manipulation. And and it's like, how, it's like, I've always said, if you're going to be a horse trainer and people are like horses, you have to be honest and transparent every single time.
Yeah.
But nobody is. So
this position that they put you in, you just wonder if they're even able to do what they're offering you. And
well, I don't know. I don't know. It was like, there's just lots of choices to be made out there. And I know they're all listening, and that's a good thing. But I tell you what, communication sucks, and that's a problem.
What do you mean?
Nobody has good communication skills.
Oh,
zero. But that's true in the it's true in the parties. The parties are just, it's win at all costs instead of instead of, you got to be on the right side. It's like a sports team. Instead of, why don't we put our weapons down and actually start acting like an American family and in service to God? And let's see what the truth brings us.
That's
And let's just see what happens if we're all honest and true and let God win the fight instead of manipulation.
That's not going to happen. The way our system is set up, it just can't happen because there's just too much incentive for personal gain.
There's too much incentive to lie.
Too much, whatever it is, it's so messed up. I think
it is messed up.
I think AI is going to be the key to the future, where we can really understand decisions that are being made by our politicians and the politicians themselves being able to make the right decisions with transparency, because the AI will call them out. Or maybe we don't need anything but an AI and people working with it. I don't know.
Well, if it's on, the whole thing, this whole thing has to be torn down.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says. We are never going to go forward building on the pile of shit we've got right now, which goes right back to people who can't seem to do the right thing. If it was sitting right in front of them, they couldn't do the right thing, and because everybody's playing games. And this comes down to a personal choice before God Almighty on everybody's watch.
Yeah,
it really does. And that choice has to be made minute by minute every day as we choose to walk with God Almighty, him being in charge, not us, and doing things sometimes that are counterintuitive because we're following God, not man, without a fear of man, without a fear of the future, but doing the right thing. Yeah. And if one person would come forward and actually communicate with me and tell me the truth, I'd probably be able to play ball with them.
Do you think that these people even know what the truth is?
They're all lying. No, I don't think anybody even knows what honest and truth is anymore.
Because the general population, including myself, have no idea what's going on at this point. It's just so confusing. You watch.
That's the point.
Yeah, it's to keep us very confused, so we can't get together to make the right choices.
I kind of disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. I think the only way for us to eliminate this system, and you can look at it as it reads in the Declaration of Independence, to throw off is the phrase, this government. Yeah. And it's not just the government. That's the thing. If you get stuck on any one topic, and I posted about this last night, election, Harris Waltz, and all the lies there. If you get stuck on the threat of war or the economy, then you're missing the bigger picture. To me, because what is happening, we talked about it pretty well last week on the Liberty section on Wednesday. Bill was really on target there. We were talking about bringing God back into our nation and into our world. If we have God back, or at least more, because there's always going to be a lot of people that reject him and a small number who accept him well, then we have a better chance of saving souls. That's really the most important thing. Who cares about the government? Who cares about the election? Do you think God cares who wins the election? I don't think so.
Karen, you're right, Karen, because you're right. The biggest threat is God to them. And look what they did in Ukraine.
Well, that's the thing. Church. That's what I'm saying, Dr. David, because if you're focusing on Ukraine as an example, then you're missing the bigger picture. They are trying to cause fear, sadness, frustration, etc. That's the dark side. That's not just the deep state. That's Satan, right?
Yeah.
That's the evil that we are fighting. It's not. You can point fingers all day long and say, well, we need to fix this or that.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of Satan, is to cause this chaos.
Yeah.
But if you rise above that and you change your focus not to okay, I look at it like whack-a-mole, the game whack-a-mole, where you're trying to hit the moles coming out of the holes, but you're missing unplug the machine. You know, you have to look at it from a broader perspective, and what is my role to play, and that can change. It is in a political arena. Well, how does me being in a political arena help God save souls? Is it staying home and being a mother and being a really good mother and homeschooling, like Ralph was talking about within the last week? There are roles to play that enable you to make the world around you better, while also keeping your focus on faith. And if you keep your focus on faith and the bigger picture, all of those other things become smaller things. Like this election, I don't know if Trump really needs to win. What is the better question for the people? That's where I'm thinking, like, in the broad scope of things, what do we need to cause the entire globe, or at least the entirety of America, to say this needs to stop, all of it? And you can't get there unless you shock people.
Yes.
And how many crazy, shocking things are happening now? It's going to get, we've talked about this for the last 2 years, at least, haven't we, Donna? That you have to have more shocking events, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Like the weird things that are happening in the news now that you see, it's going to get so much weirder because we don't have enough, maybe. I don't know what the level is of enough
Enough to do what?
Enough people who are awake where we disagree as a whole society with the way things are going. If Trump wins the election, that might not do it.
You're right.
Maybe it does.
It's not going to do it. And I'll tell you why. Because, this is the problem, is that, and I'm just going to throw this out here. Right now, I love President Trump. I am absolutely loyal to him. I'm probably more loyal to him than anybody that's been out there, right? I love him. I think what he did for this nation was amazing. The people that stood with him are absolutely amazing. But the point is that when I look at what's out there, there is zero leadership out there. Zero out there. And everybody's putting all of their eggs in the President Trump basket.
Yep.
You realize how unfair that is, first of all. And second of all, that's an absolutely an antichrist attitude. And I'll tell you why. It is putting all of our trust in one man, one very great man. But what happens when he dies?
Yep.
The man's almost 80 years old. What's next? Who's going to step up? Who's going to step in that has integrity, that's not going to get in there and try to make money off of this system and turn right back into what we have again?
First, even before we get there, how do we get to, I love what Karen said. That's very smart. But the truth is that even the people that are quote unquote awake and believe in God and want to do the right thing, even if everybody had that, or the vast majority of people felt the same way, how in the world do you overthrow a government?
Well,
I think the thing of it is that you got to be really careful. We don't want to overthrow the government.
Get a new government.
Usurpers.
Maybe that's the wrong word.
That's
the wrong word. But how do you create a new government and get rid of what's there currently, which is obviously corrupt and rotten, and replace it or change it? Because that's what they want. I think they want people to rise up with violence, and
the bad guys.
Nothing else would work, as far as I know.
And that's why it's taking so long, like Donna said, because if the people become violent, is that good for everybody? No. How do you do this peacefully? You have to wake everybody up.
And you got to get people in the game.
You got to get them in a state
that will help with a sustainability plan, which is even if we hand this back to President Trump and he does everything that he says he's going to do, That's great. Now what? How you gonna fill the positions when we start firing people? You know, it's like I'm like, I could staff this thing in a heartbeat. Because you know why? I was out there not talking to political hacks that just come for cookies and free coffee, that show up for stuff. They have a fundraiser, they have another fundraiser, they have another fundraiser, they have another stupid fundraiser. And they sit there and they clap and they cheer and they rah-rah-ree and they get nothing done.
Well, I
And
think
I'm
part
out
of
there
it too with this.
to people, hang on. I'm out there talking to real people who actually run things, who are not part of the system, who just are good people, salt of the earth, that want to see things done. But they got to step up.
Well, and I think this is, going back to something that Dr. David said earlier about, we don't know what's going on. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Because that's what they're trying to convince us of, is that, well, we don't know what's going on. Only the people in power know what's going on. Only they can make these decisions. Only they are qualified.
Trust the expert.
Trust the experts. I disagree with that entirely.
I do too.
I think, Dr. David, you are far more qualified to run all this stuff than most of the people sitting there. Same thing with you, Karen. Same thing with you, Donna. We are the ones that are supposed to be involved in running this. As the American people, it's supposed to be a representative government. It's supposed to be run by the people. And they keep trying to convince us of our incompetence. And I disagree with that entirely. I think, in fact, I think it's actually contrary to that, is that a lot of these people are just living in basically a fictional environment within all of these governmental structures that has no actual representation out in the real world.
Yeah. I mean, the government was supposed to be run by regular, everyday people. You go in, you do your duty, for 4 years or whatever, and then you leave, or 2 years, whatever the term is, and you don't make a bunch of money, and you do what's best for the people.
Yeah, and I mean, they keep
Or
trying.
Maybe the experiment, that was an experiment, the Great American Experiment, and obviously that experiment has failed. Whether or not it's recoverable or not is debatable. Maybe there is a better system.
Well, we got to go back to actually having the people have a voice.
Yeah.
If it was actually managed by the people of this country, agree with the individual or disagree with the individual, but the collective of Americans would eventually get a lot of the common sense stuff at least figured out that's getting bypassed right now.
Well, I feel like we're being lied to so egregiously by so many people right now that it's like my trust factor on pretty much everybody, it's not there. I got to tell you that. It's like I sit and I watch and I observe, but there's it's like if I were to be honest with people, I could probably go on for about 5 hours and actually do an evaluation of all of these systems, which sometimes I'm pretty quiet on it. Actually, people don't realize that. I'll sit and I'll watch the mistakes that are being made, and I may or may not say anything. A couple nights ago, I went off and I basically said everything I needed to say to why there is no leadership, because a leader does not make popular decisions. A true leader doesn't. A true leader makes the hard decisions. It's like a mom and dad. A mom and dad that, a good mom or a good dad doesn't tell the kids and give their kids everything that they think they have to have. They make those things for the best good of everyone. A real leader would not be necessarily someone that everyone out there is going to always agree with or like, but they're going to make the best cuts for the good of everyone. And right now we're on a crash course of absolute decimation. And I've heard numbers as much as 100,000 people are probably going to die
from poverty.
What's coming, but likely it's going to be because people are going to start killing each other, just like they were willing to walk over each other for the stupid toilet paper test that came.
100,000.
I mean, 100 million. 100 million.
That's a big difference.
about 100 million of the population, I will predict is going to die. And
that's
those
why
people in power are going to sit back and laugh as we do their dirty work for them.
I think that's their goal, but you have to wonder, why hasn't that happened yet? Why haven't we been in a war yet? Why hasn't there been a civil war? Why hasn't there been another biological attack, a EMP, a nuclear bomb? Because they want to do that. So somebody or something must be overseeing this process that we're going through, making sure that doesn't happen.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
I agree. So there are a lot of factors that are going on right now. And I mean, I had Curtis put something in here. We do not overthrow the government. No, we don't. We reinstall it. And we simply finish what the founding fathers started. They created our constitutional county home rule charter, and it passes with special election, county administrator. So overthrowing the government is absolutely the wrong word to say. And I've been quoted on that. Somebody tried to quote me on it, but it wasn't my words, it was theirs. They said, so you're talking overthrowing the government. I said, no. I'm talking about kicking the frickin' usurpers out who have stolen our election, who have stolen our money, who have absolutely spit on the Constitution and deserve to be tried as traitors for treason. That's what I'm talking.
You can legally overthrow the government. You can do it legally. You know, it doesn't necessarily, people think it's, means guns and fighting, but
yeah, to clarify what I was saying and throw off, I'm quoting the Declaration, and I certainly am. I've been all along talking about peaceful and lawful.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got to get the voting machines. That's the hurdle.
But let's look at what's going on here. How many people are actually jumping in to fight these things? There's not many. No. There just really are. People sit there and they complain and they sob and they think that all the knowledge that they've gained on this is doing anything, but they don't do any work to actually hold people accountable. They're not calling. They're not writing letters. They're not putting notices. There's groups that are doing it out there, but it's a very small percentage. Maybe you probably got 3% on one end that are actually working, 3% on the other end that are working against things happening, and about a 15% swing near either one of them that could make a difference, but they're not getting in the game to act. And then to get people to jump off their norms that have become canonized in their brains, like the political parties are the only way, and to make everybody think they've got to be part of this. It's like I see people go to these parties, and it's like, it's really sad to me because they're just waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. Well, who's telling them what to do? And why aren't they figuring stuff out on their own to do something and coming up with something? They want somebody else to fix their problems. A lot of times, maybe they're willing to help to a certain degree. But what if the whole system is so corrupt that even where you are, you're a captured asset, working for one side or the other?
You may not even know it.
Asked. And it's just like President Trump. I've seen so many traitors around him, and I could name them. I could absolutely name the traitors that are around him that absolutely need to get their little snaky tongues out of there and had their sorry butts down to Gitmo too, because he's got some bad, and granted, a lot of it has to do with exposure and bringing things forward. I get it. There's a lot of dynamics going on right now. Tremendous amount. Nothing is being played straight. Nothing. Zero.
And I think too, something else that could be said about the whole, the people that are trying to goad people into cheering for a complete overthrow of everything and replacement of it. The people that are cheering for that, you really think that the population right now has the moral fortitude to be able to put something back in place that's even as good as the Constitution that we have?
Well, let me tell you, I have experience on that, Ralph. And I'm no longer a member of the assembly.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the...
This is the problem.
That's why the Constitution...
You're totally right on.
That's why the Convention of States stuff is so dangerous, and any of the people that are calling for amending the U.S. Constitution. because you put that up for grabs. You could have any kind of change in there, and you could have disastrous consequences. We've already got the legal framework that we need in this country. All we have to do is actually go back to the way that it's supposed to be running.
Yeah, how do you get there?
This is one of the things I think is remarkable about whatever Q is, because it didn't start with the general population. It started with a particular subset of the population, which is very critical thinking, very intelligent, asks a lot of questions all the time, and they do that for fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they started there with those people.
I was
And they
on
said,
24/7 doing research when this came out. I am a person who loved Q. Absolutely loved Q. And the reason being is because, a lot of people were like, oh, the Q-tards, the Q this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, anybody that was expounding on that was probably trying to make money or create an audience. But it's just like the Bible. If you're sitting there and following all of these pastors that have all the words and inspiration and rah-rah-rah, this, that, and the other thing, but can't go talk to God and get your Bible out, you're doing the same thing that the people who were expanding off of Q did. The point being was that there was all questions, there was no answers. It was a Socratic method of getting people to think and dig for themselves and find the answers instead of being baby bird fed with open mouths. And honestly, that's what's going to have to happen in the political realm too. People are going to have to get in there and figure out, like we do here every week. You're going to have to figure out what is the truth, not what somebody's telling you the truth. Because if you think somebody's going to sit there and tell you the truth without wanting personal gain to it in some manner, I know a few people that are that way. I would lay my life on the line to defend that thought that they are that way. The people in this room right now I would put them in that category because I know you guys. And if you said something, your word is your word. You would keep your word, and you don't have any gain that you're looking for. None, zero, zip. I know you guys are like that. We are all basically people that would rather have a simple lifestyle. I'd rather go in the barn and shovel manure and plant things and go build things and anything. I like to fix problems, and I like to look for problems, and I like to fix them. And then once I do, I move on to other things. Okay, because that's what I like to do. I like to fix problems. But the vast majority of people out there are out there for themselves to build an audience for fame and money. There are so many political operatives out there.
Yeah.
People who are in politics who you got to look and go, how do these people have this much time on their hands?
Yeah.
With no support behind them? They don't have.
They may be getting paid.
They are getting paid. There's no other answer. They couldn't live the lifestyles that they do. Mm-hmm. It's like, for me, I have a lot of businesses behind me that I built, that my family built together without anybody helping us. We just know how to work, right? And I didn't want to be as poor as I grew up. So that's one of those things that if you have the ability to have some success, you have the ability to help a lot of people. I've given a tremendous amount of housing away. I've bought cars for people. I've done that. Nobody knows I've ever done that sort of thing. And I just don't talk about it, right? You just go around and you do what you need to do to help people out and such. But most people that I've even interviewed, I can't say most, a fraction of the people that I've interviewed on BNN, they're just audience builders. They're spinners. They're like news anchors. They go from one issue to the next. And a lot of them will play that, that poor mama, I was this, that, and the other thing. There's nothing to back that. There's nothing to back their words. They're creating a story for fame and glory. They could never come on and just talk like we do without a script. And people always want to know, well, what does Donna give you to talk about this? I get, people get asked that all the time. What's the script? What can you talk about? What you can't talk about? And they're like, there's no script. There's no communication. It's like, here's the link. Come on in. What do you want to talk about? We're going to let God lead this. That's it.
Yeah, a lot of them are in it for the money. I think most of them, these podcasters and people that you follow, they don't know anything, and they're probably getting paid, like you said.
They are both sides.
NDAs. They have NDAs, and their whole goal is the more people that follow them, the more hype they can create, and the more they can convince people they know the answers and what's going on, the more money they make. It's like a job.
Or just it's feeding their ego.
It's a
Nothing
job.
is new under the sun.
Or ego. You're right.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing was happening back in biblical times. You had it's ego, pride, lust, all of that has fed into everything against God. It all comes down to the same basic principles.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting dynamic.
There's an old archaeological find. I got to see if I can locate a minute because I think it's pertinent.
I sent you a meme, Donna. I put it on my Telegram channel too. About the.
Can you put it in the private chat?
I can't do a attachment that way, but I could put a link to my Telegram.
Yeah, do that.
Chat.
Because then I don't have to scroll your channel. Because it really is difficult to do for me to do when I'm on line. So I mean, I guess there you go. The base question that everybody really needs to ask, and I mean this, everybody needs to ask themselves this question, because you're going to be standing in front of God Almighty someday, having to answer for everything you do. First and foremost, what was the goal in what you've done in your life? What's the goal? Is it to fit into an organization that says they're doing it for the right reason, but that you can look at and have some questions? I mean, I think this is important to ask. Or are you going to stand before God Almighty without being compromised? Here, I'm going to let's see if I can, this is interesting. I'm going to see if I can view this in your channel.
I made that a while back. I got tired of hearing people say, well, we need to do this and we need to do that. And then they sit on their butts and wait for everybody else to do the work.
Well, I tell you what, so I was kind of given some sort of an ultimatum last night. And the problem with me is if somebody put a gun to my head and said, do something or die, I would choose death. I can tell you that right now. I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's my personality. And it doesn't work well with me. You know, if somebody wants to have a discussion, I'm almost always willing to do what needs to be done if it's a nice discussion. But coercion and threat, I go immediately to that ain't happening. No matter if it's, no matter what, because it's like, then I have to question everything that they're saying, and the trust factor is done. It's abusive. It's disrespectful. It's authoritarian. And if we're fighting an authoritarian tyrannical government, how is that any different than what we've already got going on? Somebody tell me that. And I don't care what wolf in sheep's clothing it looks like. Somebody tell me the answer to that. And I know they're all listening. If you think think they're any better than what we've already got when they start doing that kind of crap, that kind of bullshit, it's the same old thing. You want to talk. And, it's like I said this morning, it's like nobody has any communication skills, zero. And nobody's going to trust them because they don't know how to talk. They don't know how to communicate with people. And they destroy the communication and the trust right there. And then you've got nothing. So there you go. Anyhow, here's Karen's meme. We should do something about that. Yeah, doing something about that roaring. There you go.
Dr. David was talking about a little while ago. How do you, and what I was saying, I don't know how many people need to be fully awake and ready to change. Like I said, it started perhaps with the Q people, where somebody is behind a plan, and I see it all the time. There is a plan, and I don't know who is behind it. It is a big plan. And they started very intelligently with a small group of people who they knew could handle it. and it started to grow organically. And here I've been saying like there's the snowball effect, or sometimes it seems like things have gone faster, where like might have a week where there's a bunch of different things. And Trump being shot was not the only big story within that week. Within a few days, we're hardly even talking about that because there's so many other things going on. And how fast sometimes everything comes at people, and I think that's part of the awakening process. You've got to get enough of the population so that they have open minds, open ears and eyes, so that they're capable of recognizing things that they've never considered before. The government could be against the people. I mean, like I mentioned before, 9/11, that's a huge awakening for a lot of people to think that George Bush had something to do with that. I mean, I saw him, he was sitting with a bunch of children, and he seemed surprised. And no, he had something to do with directly harming the American people so that he could profit by it. And that's a part of the awakening. Well, you've got to go through some baby steps till you can get to the point where we can save the children.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? You have to prepare people's minds one step at a time. Dr. David, you're there. You're already like, well, this isn't right. These things aren't right. We have to change this. How do we go about changing this? Well, thank you. You are in that population which is ready to learn more. And every now and then you're going to get a shocker that's going to throw the rug right out from under you. But you'll recover because you've been through that a few times before. And that's where the American public, who's been ignorant all along, something in their daily news feed is going to pull the rug out from them. And then they're going to, as they recover, be more willing to accept the next big rug pull. And the next big rug pull. And the next one. Which leads up to, hey, there are children being tortured, raped, harvested in your local community, and it's been supported by your local judges, your sheriff's department, your government, and people in your church. Well, they're all around. This is an evil that's encompassing you that you did not see. Now you have your eyes opened. Then are you going to be the couch cat, or are you going to be the lion? And I think by the time we are there, where we have enough people who have gone through enough processes in this awakening path, they're going to be ready to do something, and they're going to see the wisdom in doing it peacefully. But it takes time to get enough of the population there. That's how I see what's happening. And that's why when I see things working on that path, I go, oh, this supports once again the idea that there is a good guy, there is a good entity, there is a God, whatever it is, in charge of this path, who is taking us in this direction of a peaceful, positive transformation, bringing us as a nation back toward God and godliness. And that gives me faith, that allows me to not live in fear or sadness or frustration at all of the little things, where I can rise above it, think outside the box, and see things from a larger perspective. And instead of being frustrated like a lot of people in the population are right now, I can sit back and go, okay, I see.
Oh, lost Karen.
Now she's back now. I see a quote that Ralph posted, which I like. King Naram, Sin of Chaldea, 3800 BC, inscription found on an ancient tablet in Constantinople. We have fallen upon evil times. The world has waxed old and wicked. Politics are very corrupt. Children are no longer respectful to their elders. Each man wants to make himself conspicuous and write a book. That's pretty much where we are right now.
History
Well,
repeats
New under
itself.
the sun.
Yeah, it's like it repeats itself. It's incredible, and yeah. So I think everything too. This is all of the stuff that we're talking about this morning is that everyone has been under some form of threat and coercion. Everyone has.
Mhm.
Which way are you going to jump? Who are you going to follow? Why should you follow anyone? Why shouldn't you be your own force? If we had so many people out there that were doing, say what we're doing right now, it would be like fighting this war behind the trees with squirrel guns like they did in the Revolutionary War, but we do it lawfully with our mouths.
Yeah.
We couldn't combat it. That's why the news has to be decentralized.
Oh,
Well, and
yeah.
right now we are in a civil war.
We are.
We're in the midst of it, but it's a civil war of the minds right now. And where we're hoping to have this is not proceed to violence. And that's why we all keep working toward this, is to try and get this back on the right path before, before bad people are able to successfully convince people to do something drastic.
Yeah. And that you can look and see that there's a big effort to create this civil unrest violence, with so many different, what I call operations, but we don't take the bait.
Yeah.
We haven't
And the
taken
American
the bait.
people agree on so much, despite how much they're trying to divide us and emphasize the differences between us. The
Right.
American people actually agree on tons of issues.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't want any of us actually taking action on, is the stuff we agree on, which is why they keep dividing us.
Yeah.
Another thing that's interesting about in the concept of I see this plan. Look at how much the rest of the world is suffering right now compared to us. We can talk about our economy, but there are people being hacked by machetes on the street in England. That stuff over there, they have got it a lot worse, and they keep looking over here. When are you guys going to do something? Because we know that America will lead the way. They're still waiting. We can look over across the pond and say, those people are really suffering. Wow, it's bad over there. Well, why is it? This is the thing you have to constantly ask why. Why is it that they're in a state of perpetual 24/7 violence overseas? And name a country except for America. We have a lot of violence here, but it seems to be different. It's not at the level that they are suffering, and I think we have been protected by this plan to some degree. The floodwaters are being held back while we're awakening, and at some point they might not hold, and we're going to see a lot more violence. And maybe that is going to trigger some people to finally wake up.
Well, hasn't
But-
President Trump said many times that there's going to be a terrorist attack? I mean, he didn't say there might be. He said there's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We're under a terrorist attack.
Yeah, true. Sometimes you got to really read between
Just don't see it that
the
way.
words when it comes to what President Trump says.
And I would argue, too, that nearly every bit of violence that we've seen in any context which is even mildly political is not violence from the people. It's been violence from our own government committed against us.
Oh, yeah. They're paid people.
Yep.
Black Lives Matter and all those different affinity groups. They're paid to create violence. And I think it's to try and bait us, good people, to physically, have altercations with them so they can, call out the military or NATO or something.
Yeah, I guess I just want everybody to think about this. What would you do if somebody basically gave you an ultimatum and said, you've got 2 days or you're done? Is that the way we talk to each other, or is
You're
that tyranny?
done like dead?
I don't
bad or
I don't
done?
think it was that. I don't think that was the exact context. But I want you to think about this as human beings. Is this a way you ever talk to anyone, or do you sit
No.
down
No, it's a
and have
threat.
it was a threat, and it was, and I don't appreciate that, because why is that any different than any other tyranny that we have? We have
Yeah.
discussions. We have respect for each other. We
Yeah.
talk to each other with respect. And and it's like I said, I don't really have a dog in any fight when it comes to needing to be actually right on anything. I like to look at the right ideas, and I don't care who they come from. You go with the best idea. It's not about that's how I run my businesses. If I've got good people in place, I don't interfere with them. I let them do their jobs, because that's the way that you actually manage a lot of stuff, right? If you have to micromanage everything, then you're a lousy boss because you staffed wrong. That's just the way it is. There's enough good people out there to staff anything, including the government, if we cut it down to what it needs to be.
Yes.
There's plenty of good people out there. The only reason why we don't have any good people is because they keep going back into these ridiculous political parties of nothing but sheeple that just want to be part of a cult. If we're going to do anything, we have to have people that are innovators, that think, that aren't just order takers, and that are willing to do what it takes because of something bigger, a better idea of how to run things, not just the same old, same old. I mean, it's going to take people who are actually willing to go the distance, and not just quit or not fold or this, that, and the other thing. And you know what? I know that they're out there because I've talked to them. I've talked to thousands and thousands of people out there.
Yeah, you
and
do.
I believe in the American people. I really do. There's good people out there in our communities.
Most people are probably good.
There's a lot of good people out there, but because they've rigged the elections, we've got crap in office. And because people, what do we have? 20% of the voters that came out in the last election here? It was about 20% of, I believe it was 20% of the voters that came out in the last election here. And it was the amount of Republicans that say the Republicans that came out to vote, almost none. Can't do anything with Kennedy. Kennedy went independent. People are so disenfranchised with everything that they're not coming out to vote.
Yeah, that's what they want.
It goes right back to the American people. I don't care whether you agree or disagree. Your job is to get out there and vote and hold people accountable, and not wait for somebody to come and fix your problems.
Yeah. And Donna, back to the statement that you made. If somebody said you have 2 days, or what was it? 2 days or you're
Done.
Like anybody that had good intentions would never say that. I mean, just
feel the
simply
same
saying,
way.
Donna, you have 2 days to make a decision. How can I help you? That would be something I would say that if I really wanted you to do something and be part of something. I would never say you're done. That person obviously has ill intentions, and
it felt really disrespectful and manipulative.
Absolutely.
And so like normal people like us would say, hey, let's talk about this a minute. And I'm actually pretty agreeable on all sorts of things. I mean, I ran for governor, because I was asked in a situation I'd never been in and that I hated, over the principle of wanting the country back the way it's supposed to work, because I fundamentally care about people. I would never say that to someone.
Yeah.
If you have to say that to someone, you got the wrong people in place.
Yeah.
And you suck at it. And you have vastly underestimated people who have the ability to actually fix things. If you put them in a great position and give them something to believe in, instead of, this goes back to horse training. And I don't know how many people are going to be on the second hour today, because a couple of them, somebody had their business, a truck shot, and they're having to deal with the police right now. So it may be us. So I'd like you guys to stay on, and we'll see if anybody joins or not. But the groups looks like they're having some issues.
So
if if you've got good people in place and they have a vision to believe in, they'll do the right thing. And if you have enough of a deterrent for them to do the wrong thing, they won't even get in the game to play the game, right? They won't even have the guts to step up, because the deterrent, which is a lawful deterrent, not a threat of coercion, but it's just like, writing books. Look at all the papers that are writing out there for free on Substack. You want information, it's all out there. You don't have to invest in all these books. Now I have, because it's just like this little $130 gem I bought right there. Wow. That Bill, this guy, you can't get this book. I buy books and old books and such that will have documents, because when the power goes off, it's not if, people, it is when. It is when this is going to collapse. It's going to. We've been saying it for a long time. If people are dumb enough not to listen and they think they've got all the answers, God's going to bring everybody right to their knees. You've had a chance. It's just like he told everybody, get yourselves turned around before God. You have a chance. If you don't, it is your own fault. He's given you free will. And he's going to sit back and say, all I really wanted was a real relationship with you. And that's how I feel. It's like, all I really wanted, if somebody wants to work together on a team and do the right thing, that's great. But I don't work well under threat or coercion or ultimatums. It's like, and I think that should be true, because I wouldn't give that to somebody. No. Because if you had to, you got the wrong person. So we'll go back to horse training. Horse training is just like with people. Okay? This is the way it is. Horses are a herd animal. People are a herd animal. We function the same way. We want to be in a group of people that absolutely love us, that will stand with us, that will protect us, that stand for anything, in a real relationship of caring and mutual respect. Okay? And they establish their pecking orders. There's no two ways about it, but it's based on respect and the good of everyone, right? There's two kinds of horse trainers. There's those that stand over a horse with a stick or a whip. They'll beat the hell out of those horses. And I've seen it. I have no respect for them whatsoever. The horse will always listen and perform as long as that stick is over that horse's head, because they're afraid, but they're pissed. They will do it grudgingly, but there's no intention, and they're not at their best. They'll give you just enough to get by, but it's like being in prison. It's being in the prison of the mind. It's being in the prison of threat and coercion. They'll perform to get the little ribbon, to do the blue ribbon, to do what you want them to do, but they hate you for it. And they will hate that kind of a trainer to the day they die. It kills their soul. Now, the other kind of a trainer is the one that stands there realizing that everybody's been lied to, threatened, and coerced. Every single one of us has. We've had the IRS. We've had unlawful taxation. We've had properties that have been threatened to be away. We've had the threat of being ostracized from their stupid little clubs, their stupid little lying clubs that have done nothing. Look at this. When has any of them done a damn thing? They haven't.
No.
They've scratched the surface. They put their puppets in place, and they're still lying their asses off.
Yep.
And we all know it. Okay. If you're paying attention at all, you better be sure that you know it.
Yep.
But the trainer that actually does the right thing, that honestly looks like God, will stand there for hours observing, bringing food, bringing water, treating the wounds, watching them bite and kick at you because they're pissed. And they have the right to be pissed. They should be pissed because they've been abused. Trust is earned. Trust is not given. And that trainer will stand there until that horse has got it all worked out and realizes, and that horse realizes, holy crap, this person is willing to go the distance. And why haven't I scared them away? Why haven't they run away? Why didn't they pick up that whip? Why haven't they been like every single other person I've known to stand there over with me and whip as a tyrant? Because that's not what God does. And I'm going to give a story, and I told the story of Toby over and over again. I've had many horses that are like this, and they're just like people, just like people. You know, and I've rescued people too. They work the same exact way, same exact way. I just sit there quietly and I watch them, right? Get pissed off the tyranny and come back again. Toby. I tried to buy Toby for years because he was a really good horse, real good horse. And I realized that he was not being treated well. He was in a stall. Nobody let him out. They just take him out and run his legs out. And his legs were swollen because nobody took care of him and nobody cared. And when I got this horse after it was given to somebody else, I will tell you right now, I would lay any amount of money on it that you want, that this horse had been involved in electroshock. Because when the bug zappers around the horse barn went off, he lost it. So he was familiar with that electric shock sound. And I mean, he would literally absolutely lose his mind. Somebody hurt this horse bad. His legs would be swollen. The people would take him out without doing anything and just run him out like there was no tomorrow. Well, I found out later why they wouldn't be sold to me. He had grubs for lack of taking care of him that burrowed up into the hoof to the bone. And he knew I would turn him in for animal cruelty because I hate this stuff. I hate anyone, that abuses animals. And when a horse throws them, I know 2 trainers that got thrown and broke both their arms. The horses got them back. They deserved every minute, every pain that they had out of this because I knew what they did to those horses. Well, anyhow, guy calls me up one day, says, "Hey, I'm in trouble. I know you've got farriers there. Will you help me out here with a farrier?" And I'm sitting there going, not a terribly bad guy, but a real dumb guy. Okay, real dumb guy, and such. And he's like, "Will you help me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I will, but you're going to sell me that horse." And so he's like, "Fair enough." And he gave me a price. I said, "No, that's not the last price. We're going to go with the first price you gave me, and that's what I'm willing to pay." So sent the farrier over there. The farrier came back to my barn, and he's like, "I never washed my hands in the winter." He goes, "That was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen." Went and washed his hands, picked up the horse. I had to bathe the horse 3 times to get this horse in my barn because the horse was standing in about 12 to 14 inches of liquid, sloppy horse manure.
What?
It was disgusting. The horse had not been maintained. When you have a male horse, you've got to maintain their junk, which includes taking beans out of the end of the penis of gross. It builds up. You have to clean the horse's junk, or they get infections. They can't pee. The horse would stand in the stall, and he screamed for 3 months. This horse screamed. He screamed. He tried to lunge and bite you. He would kick. He was neglected. He was furious and it was like he had every right to feel that way. And there was no reason for him to trust me or anyone else that came walking up to him. But I would go, and he'd stand there and he would sweat because he couldn't pee. So we had to have the vet come and clean him out. And that went for a while before we figured out what was going on with him. He couldn't really pee, so he would stand and just pool of sweat around him trying to go to the bathroom. Totally pool of sweat. Hostile. Oh my God, that horse was hostile. And so I'd come in and he just screamed, and I'd walk in the barn and put a halter on him. You know, I know how to handle horses. And so even ones that are hostile, and put a halter on him, and we would walk down the barn and we would touch noses. And I'd go, "Okay, look at this guy." Yeah, okay. All the horses are looking at him and going, "Man, what's wrong with you? You like died and went to heaven here, you know?" And he'd get to the end and he's kind of like shell shocked. He'd sit there and shake like, "What am I even seeing here?" I mean, it was literally like this. He'd like shaking, like trying to put this into a new perspective because he was taken out of his prison. Mm-hmm. Touched noses with all the horses, all the way down, all the way back. Got him calmed down. Still couldn't get next to his head because he'd absolutely grab a hold of you and bite you if he had a chance. put him back in his stall. The minute I'd put him back in the stall, the horses start screaming again. So I go right back again, put the halter on him, go down the barn, touch noses again. Over and over and over we would do this. So, I got him to the point where he was a little bit okay with stuff, and he was learning. He was learning. And one day I looked at him and I'm like, you know what? You're a big faker. And I actually grabbed his face and I went like this and I looked at his nose and I put him right in front of me. And I'm like, you, sir, are a faker. We're done with this. So I put him in his run and I just planted. I stood there and I put my arm like this and I'm like, nope, he's done with it. We're gonna be done with it. So he was out there turning his back on me, threatening to, when they turn their back on you, they're threatening to kick you, right? They're creating space. They're like, get away from me. I just stood in the door. I just stood there and I don't know how long I stood there. It was a long time, maybe an hour and a half, stood stock still, didn't move muscle. And he's like, dude, this person's crazy. She's not like everybody else, right? So all of a sudden he started getting curious, like, what is wrong with this person? What is wrong with her? She's nuts. And he kept getting closer and getting closer and getting closer. And finally he got about 3 feet away from me and he started doing one of these numbers. Like he kind of wanted to get closer, but he was so afraid that somebody was going to do the same thing that he's seen over and over again that he just couldn't make it work. I just kept standing there. I'm like, I got all day, dude. I got all day. So all of a sudden he starts taking steps forward, couple of steps forward, couple more, and he's still doing this and he's shaking. He's just shaking like a leaf. And finally he stopped shaking. And I mean, it was just like that. And he put his face down and he got about 6 inches away from my head. And he went like this. And I'm like, well, this is either where he grabs me and just pulls me in the stall and stomps the crap out of me or bites me and does absolute damage. And he stood there like this next to me. And we just looked in each other's eyes. He looked in my eyes. I looked in his eyes. And we just stood there. And it was a long time. And all of a sudden, he took this big breath. And he put his head on my chest. And he just went just like this. And that horse never bit or kicked again. And since then, we've always put new riders on him because he knows that he will, as long as I'm there, that horse will never be abused again.
Wow. That's a great story.
I've had many horses over the years that have done that because they've been abused and they've been hurt. And they're just like people. And I mean, think about this. If we go back to the same way that this has always been done, what are we doing? Just replacing one tyrannical system with another? Or is this going to be built on respect and talking and figuring it out as friends? I'd never do that to a human being. Not in a million years. On the principle of it's wrong.
That's why free speech is such a danger to tyrants. Because people can actually discuss what's wrong and come to a consensus as to what's wrong, how it can be fixed, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as
you see that being clamped down on in the UK right now because people are actually figuring out, oh, we've got some problems here, and
they throw in jail.
The fact that people are figuring out those problems and actually talking about them is such a danger that they have to clamp down on that.
I want to ask everybody a question. How many times has somebody actually come up to you and asked you how you're doing and actually meant it?
How many times a day? Or
I remember one.
The norm?
I remember one where I had a bad experience with some church people. And I was coming back to the church, but I was not sitting where I used to sit. I was not staying with those people anymore. And the rest of the congregation pretended like everything was fine. because they held sway. I was the new one in that congregation. And there was one man who was observing. He was quiet, but he was observing everything that was going on. And so we were all getting ready to leave. And he said, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm doing okay." And he's like, "No, really, how are you?" And then it struck me that he saw the truth. He knew exactly what was going on. I didn't know him really well. I didn't have a trusting relationship with him or anything. But I remember that moment all these years later, because he was letting me know that he cared, that he saw. And I was okay, but I was still hurt by the betrayal. And the rest of the congregation was just, it was, Donna, you've talked about this all the time. I've known lots of different church congregations in my life because I've moved around a lot, and we were always in a church. And there are some that are very welcoming, and there are some. I mean, they run the gamut. Not every congregation is alike. There's all kinds of chemistry there. Some are very closely united and very welcoming of guests, bring you right into the fold. And other ones are they're already their own family union, and you're always going to be the outsider in a sense. But that man let me know that he cared. That was a connection that you're supposed to have with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you very well, but I know, I can tell that you've had a hardship here. And I'm letting you know I see you and I care about you. And I remember, I don't know his name. I can't remember what he looked like. I never really got to know him, but I remember him all these years later because of that one moment.
Yeah, it's it's like all of our experiences that we have. God, I'm going to throw this out there: good, bad, and otherwise. They've all made us who we are today. And a lot of the hardships that we have had and has experienced in life actually have smoothed off the roughness of the diamonds that God built into us. We should always be thankful of those things,
Yep.
those hardships and the abuse that we maybe suffered and such, because they changed us fundamentally in ways that we could never have learned without them. And I think God's going to let us going forward, because we as a collective group have not learned enough to put our treasure in the people around us and God. We've chased after empty things, the material world. And until we break that and break the idols we have going on around us, God's going to do exactly what he's always done. He's always torn all the idols down. He'll tear them right down to the ground. And so that we get back to what is important, which is those things that are eternal, each other, serving him. When you feel really wealthy, of true riches, it's never material things. People chase after material things, and that's kind of, after a while, it gets to be pretty hollow, but the true wealth we have is when we serve God in this world. That's the purpose that everyone's looking for, and few people ever find it because they're distracted by shiny things. What if all those shiny things are taken away? What if they're all taken away, and you find the purpose in picking up somebody who's fallen, bandaging their wounds, doing the right thing when they can't pay you back, when there's no payback, when nobody sees what you do, and you have the only connection you have is the fact that you know that God Almighty approves of what you're doing against what anybody else out there has done. That's when you're truly wealthy. That's the true riches that it talks about in the Bible right there.
Well said.
Yeah.
And few people ever find it because they go after one ridiculous instant gratification thing after the next. They want people to like them. They want people to approve of them. They think there's security in that. Human beings are tremendously disloyal. Tremendously. If somebody likes you 1/4% of the time, you're doing real good. My dad used to say that all the time. He's like, if you have 5 real friends in your entire life, you've done more than what most people have done and would have done or could do in 10 lifetimes. Because people are fickle. And if you're in a public arena, you're never with friends. Because they're only friends with you if you're doing what they want you to do or saying what they want you to say to make them feel good. A real friend's going to be there through thick and thin. They'll be there for you in your worst moments when you maybe are like Toby, biting and kicking because you're processing a world that sucks. Our world sucks. It's a fallen world. But we have the opportunity in this world to make a real difference, to be that light in the darkness, to have Christ shine through us, to not take on all of those characteristics that are so much failings in human beings.
I've been that loyal friend, but
You're amazing.
I haven't had I don't know, honestly, if I've ever had a friend that remained loyal because, like I said, I moved around a lot as a kid and people were always like, yeah, write to me. We'll still be friends. And that didn't last very long. You might have got 1 or 2 letters and then it was like, well, we're moving on. And so I learned very early in life that not to put much stock in those friends, those kinds of relationships, because they just don't last. And it's really sad because I wanted it and I would have welcomed it and I offered it myself, but it got turned down repeatedly. And so to have a long lasting sound friendship, I'm jealous of people who have that because I haven't experienced that in my life. I've had friends that I thought, wow, this is a really good relationship. You know, I can trust them and they're trusting me and we do things together or whatever. But it typically doesn't last. Something gets in the way of that. There's other priorities that come into play over or between that relationship. And it's kind of sad, but you know, like you said, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, basically. And that's true too. What do you do in those kinds of situations? Will you trust in God? And the same is true with organizations, whether it be political or otherwise. You know, I mentioned the assembly. I'll be frank. I still believe in the concept that the righting of our nation is possible by taking us back to what the founders intended. Unfortunately, the start of that process took place within people who had greater egos than they did desire to right the nation. I felt like I was one of the most dedicated people because I was putting a lot of energy into this. But what I kept seeing is tyrants. Mm-hmm. We had a political coup. A coup attempt. Perhaps we can discuss that on another day. But there was a coup attempt that failed miserably. And some of that is because of a lack of discernment. So wherever we are and whatever organization we have in this country, we've talked about this before, there's a lack of training, a lack of understanding, comprehension. The things Bill has been reading to us is helping us to recognize what the founders intended, and their education was so much greater than ours that we're having to learn all over again. So some of it is that kind of growing pains. Some of it is just downright evil. When you have hearts that aren't sound built on faith more than ego, the ego is going to take over. And that causes rifts over and over and over. So even when you think you've got something great, you have to look out for that, because there are good people who had good intentions, but at some point, the ego was allowed to grow in their heart, and you had an ego mind instead of a heart mind, and that interfered with the positive process of change. How do you overcome that? I think you've got to have, again, enough people who set aside their own egos. And what happens when you have a tragedy? Look at 9/11 again as an example. You could be in the grocery store after 9/11, and somebody will say, "Hey, did you hear they found somebody alive today?" And everybody in the line was together, unified.
It's terrible that we need a tragedy to pull people together, like something so drastic, but it appears that that's what really works.
Well, and I think what the problem is, lost you there,
guys.
Karen.
Yeah. Everybody was united because we had been through a trauma together. And so you were talking about this potential for trauma in our future, where a lot of people might die. It may be that we have to face a trauma in order to bring us together, where there are no dividing lines. We see each other as Americans or as people, as God's people, and then we unite and we work together to find a positive way out, a peaceful, lawful resolution to our problems, because we have nothing else to get in the way of that. Ego doesn't matter, and if somebody would raise their fist, the rest would say, no, we're together. We don't allow that anymore. And then you get that scene from the Vendetta movie where all the people are together. Yeah. And I think we might need some shockers and some hardships in order to forge that unified sense in our country and in our world to get us all moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so. And look at how the communication skills have gone since post-COVID. They sucked before that. Communication skills absolutely suck. We should really teach a class on communication, because part of what I do is conflict resolution. I do a lot of conflict resolution. I love conflict resolution. It is one of my favorite things to do in the whole planet, is to get people talking and resolving things that have gone wrong. Yeah. And I mean, hands down, if I could do that full time, I probably would enjoy that more than anything I've ever done, or it's at least in my top 10 list of things that I enjoy doing. But it starts out with having really good communication and not having an agenda of your own. Yep. You got to lay yourself down. And I think that's what Jesus did really well. Jesus just spoke the truth. He just spoke the truth, but his agenda wasn't necessarily anything other than good. But he didn't have a political agenda. He didn't have a political goal or ambition, really. And I didn't either. When I ran for governor, just as clarification, I was asked to run. I didn't have an agenda. I never wanted to be in politics. I agreed to do it as somebody who could run it as a business, because that's what needs to happen. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I could do it with or without the title. Actually, it wouldn't make any difference to me. It actually
rooted in love.
Wouldn't make any difference at all to me. I wouldn't need the title.
That's the thing. The difference there and what separated Jesus apart was that it was rooted in love. Because, like I said, the ego mind versus the heart mind. If love rules the day, you could talk to anybody about anything. And you can spend all day talking about the definition of evolution and debate that with somebody, as long as you have a spirit of love. You can debate anything, but you start out with love and then define the principles that are involved and then discuss different perspectives, because if you're loving, you'll listen as well as offer your ideas.
Well, what if you go past that one more step and realize that the person that you're talking to is way more important on an individual level than whatever it is you could be talking about? You know,
Yep.
it's like, I believe that you earn the right to talk to people. You earn that right. You don't just blast in there. And I had a discussion on the issue of abortion this week. We had a meeting within the Constitution Party, and I'm like, the problem I have right now with the whole abortion issue right now is that we're beating our head against the wall. We don't even know how, the conservative side is really pretty dumb when it comes to talking about abortion, because you're talking about an ideological problem that cannot be won because it's based on opinions and there's not enough facts that are brought forward for people to see. That's why I play that flash of light at conception. Do you know how few people have ever seen that or even understand that as soon as the sperm enters the egg, there's a flash of light. It's a very breath. It's the very breathing of God into that egg to make a human being. And once you see it, people are just like, they're speechless. But what if they have to come to terms with the fact that this whole industry isn't about women's rights? It's about making women stupid to believe that it's women's rights, but it's far more sinister than what they're telling people.
Mm-hmm.
It's way more sinister than that. I believe that I've heard that, first of all, that there's a higher incidence of breast cancer after abortion.
I saw that.
Because the body is still moving forward with the cycle, but there's no baby. So the hormones are all messed up. And all of a sudden, you've got a higher incidence of breast cancer.
I
which
never even
their
considered
political
that.
machine, or their big pharma machine. You've got a problem with selling baby parts. And nobody's asking why, who is going in there or even looking at it, because it's an inconvenience fact that they're going to have to face the fact that the abortion industry, and it's a baby killing industry, it's a human being, human trafficking, human life destruction industry, is selling baby parts and bragging about it.
Mm-hmm.
Where are those baby parts going? I want to know down to the last little piece of a finger that they're taking when they're ripping these babies out of the mouth. Where are they selling these baby parts to, and why?
And the children, the missing children, where are they taking them? What is going on?
How many kids are being born alive that they tell the mom that the baby was dead, but they actually delivered a full-time baby, and out the back door they go into the baby selling market, because you can make a lot of money off of a live baby that's been delivered on an abortion table, but they didn't really kill the baby. They never told the mom, and took the baby out and gone. How many have we actually discussed this? How can we look at the amount of fetuses in like a ceiling in a funeral home in Detroit attached to Houmet Avedon and Hillary Clinton, in a building in Detroit, Michigan, in a funeral home? How do you find remains of children in there? And nobody says a thing.
Nobody did anything.
Or a container that has fetuses. I know you've seen the footage, David. I know you've seen it. It's like, and the trauma of finding a whole container full of children's remains, and nobody says a thing. And this is about women's rights. No, it's not. You're a stupid participant in the murdering of children. They don't even know it, because they're listening to these propaganda pushers of, you got to be you got to be your best you got to do what you want to do what thou wilt. Satan himself is talking to these people, and they're biting on it. But the message is different. We're like, well, abortion is wrong. Don't have an abortion. Abortion is baby killing. Yeah, it is. But how much have you been supporting this with actual information to show people that they have been caught up in one of the biggest minion situations to the abortion industry the world has ever known? And what's happened? Have you looked at the child sacrifice that goes on, or babies in bottles. I actually saw a baby in a bottle that was published, and I know a doctor that saw a baby in a refrigerator, dead baby in a refrigerator, in a Hollywood party.
Wow.
Dead baby in the refrigerator, a Hollywood party.
What the heck is going on?
I
How do
sent
you
you a link in
And
the
I
chat.
personally know this person.
I sent you a link in the chat to a meme that you shared. I think I shared it and then you shared it, but I found it faster on your channel.
Let's see what it is. Karen's a meme. Karen's a meme lord.
I didn't make the meme, but I liked it.
Karen's the meme lord. Let's see if I can get it in here. See if it'll go to it.
Did anyone listen to President Trump's little speech at the border? Was it
Nope.
yesterday or the day before?
Oh,
It was a good one. He basically said child traffickers, death penalty. Drug traffickers, death penalty.
yeah, I saw that and shared some clips of it.
He sent in a strong message.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got this one given to me, Karen, from several people, and then I reposted it. A lot of times people will send me several memes, and there you go.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah. But, you know, there's going back to the choices that we have to make. You know, I listen to people say, we've got to do this. We're going to get together and we're going to fight this. Well, there's some truth to that. But first and foremost, this battle is the Lord's. And this is too big of an issue for people to take this on without God leading the way and God being involved in this. The minute we say, we're going to solve this problem, we got this, it's going to be us working together on it, we're taking the glory away from God. The minute somebody said, oh, I prayed for you, that's why it worked. No, I'm glad you prayed. That's great. But it's God Almighty that answers the prayers. It's not us. We can pray. But, you know, it's not a good thing to take the thunder away from God. I'm just going to let everybody know that right now. He's probably not looking at you as the hero at this moment because you prayed.
I'd argue at that point it's there's minimal, if any, distinction between that and witchcraft.
It is witchcraft. Just like saying all the right words. I'm going to pray all the right words and hold God to a contract. That's called a spell.
Yeah. That doesn't work.
No. So, well, this is
doing it under your own power and not, or, you know, considering it to be under your own power or your own control and not because not giving the glory to God.
Yeah.
I think that we need to have more gratefulness, more gratitude too. Like I've been saying lately, there's a lot of good things happening around us. Or things that started out tragically or unfortunately, but then turn out to be a good thing in the long run. And I've been catching myself saying, well, I'm grateful for that. And I need to say it more often, and I need to pray that way more often, because we should be thankful for a lot of things. When you're so busy looking around you at all the problems in your life, you know, all these things that we were talking about earlier, all the little things that are problems and fears and confusions and frustrations, you start to lose heart, and your mind and your heart is not where it needs to be. But when you start to focus more on the things that you can be grateful for, that puts you in a better faithful state, and a more hopeful state, because you remember who is in charge. God is in control.
And
we certainly have a lot to be grateful for.
Sure do. It's amazing. And I think going forward, there's so many people that have turned their hearts back to God in truth. Mm-hmm. We've seen a tremendous revival of people deciding that Well, I guess taking God out of the schools and taking him out of, government, taking him out of society is not working too well for us.
Right.
Not at all. And we've kind of got what we want, what we thought we wanted. And he's just sitting back going, how's that working for you? You ready to come back? I'm waiting for you with open arms. You had to learn the lesson, and there was no way you were going to learn it unless you went through it.
There was a man.
It's like we were talking about, I think we were talking about this the other day, that, you go back to the Old Testament and the stories about Nebuchadnezzar. And he was clearly called out as being used by God to basically inflict a teaching moment upon the nation of Israel at the time. And, the unpleasantness that they went through was to bring them back to God. And ultimately, God was able to use Nebuchadnezzar both to do that, as well as to bring the nation of Babylon and Persia to God through Nebuchadnezzar. So there's that hardship was used not just even to teach a lesson to one people, but to an entire region.
Well, and and a lot of times we hear things that are supposed to be, putting a urgency in our actions or something like that. But remember what Abraham said when Abraham and Lot split ways. And Lot was he went to where he thought was the most fertile ground. He went down into the valley into Sodom and Gomorrah. And he thought that's where he was going to be the most blessed. And Abraham sat on the mountain and said, it doesn't matter. God will bless me anywhere I am.
Amen.
And he stood on the mountain where the grass was sparse. And when they talked about green pastures in the Holy Lands, this is desert. Okay. There isn't like belly deep grass like we have in Michigan. It doesn't work that way. So the shepherd had to take the sheep up into the hills. And the good shepherd knew where the grass was going to come forth in the morning. In the morning, the grass would come up, and by afternoon, it would wilt and turn dry and be gone. And so they would take the sheep into the hills where they knew the good shepherd, only the shepherd knew where the grass was, and took them up there to eat because he knew that it would be gone by the afternoon. I think that that's a good lesson for all of us when you look at that. Lot went into the valley, the green pastures, and where everything looked like he was going to be blessed, and he had all the resources that he could possibly want. And Abraham, who was righteous, stayed on the mountaintops, and we all know what happened to Lot down in Sodom and Gomorrah. He ended up offering his daughter up to two strangers on the doorstep. It wasn't just what everybody says, and everybody wants to blame, it on, sexual preferences and such. No, these people were morally corrupt to their core. He literally offered his virgin daughter up to two strangers if they would leave his male guest in the house alone. That's what was happening there.
Sounds like Hollywood.
That gets glossed over. He offered up his child to two strangers to save face at the guy at the guest that showed up at his house, in his house, because he wanted to be part of the club. That's what was really happening there. And
that still goes on today.
It's happened in the school districts. People put their kids in the school districts hoping that their kids are going to be, they're so good, those kids are going to make a difference. You just offered your kids up to a satanically controlled organization. That's what it is.
And Donna, I can't believe how many parents just sit by and they don't even care. It just amazes me. This stuff is going on in your schools, but they're okay with it. Yeah. Oh, my kids, they don't want to be inconvenienced.
You brought up a good point, Donna, a couple of days ago about it's sending your kids to do the battles for you because you're not going to.
Right. I never heard it that way, that people thought their kids were going to change things. It makes sense to me that people would say that, but I hadn't heard that concept.
Oh, I've heard that so many times, and you hear it from the people that speak Christianese, because there's difference between Christians, believers, and people who speak constant Christianese. Okay, and I say that's a religious spirit, not the spirit of God talking. Oh, we brought up in the church, and my kids are strong in their faith. I'm going to put them in school, and they're going to have an influence in that school. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, your kids are so special and so good and so righteous because they come from a Christian family. They're going to go in there and they're going to change the world. Maybe. I hope so. I hope you're right. But I don't think that we're called to throw our kids out and things, to fight our battles for us.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, even worse is parents thinking it's okay. No, it's okay. That the teachers are, teaching my kids that they don't know what their sex is and their tampons in the man's bathrooms. That's okay. I'm fine with that.
Litter boxes.
Litter boxes, all that stuff.
Hey, I was really cheering on a lot of the people that were doing the ridiculous emotional support animals on planes, like bringing a turkey on a plane, that kind of thing, or a horse, because it's like
horse.
Yeah, because one way or another, they were going to test the limits until people finally came to their senses on how silly that whole thing was. And by golly, it worked. Now there's actually restrictions on emotional support animals where they have to be actually trained and certified in a lot of places to be considered an emotional support animal. Somehow I've never seen a turkey, as much as I love chickens, I've never seen a turkey qualified as an emotional support or as a service animal to be able to help someone with a disability. I've never seen a turkey certified for that.
I have seen more animal abuse under the guise of emotional support animals than I would care to tell anybody. And we've called animal control on people and they won't come. Nope. Because that's an emotional support animal. And never mind that the dog is in a cage all but a few minutes a day, and filthy, full of dog feces, abused, horrific. We had one house that there was so much dog crap in the basement that they didn't pick up with it. When I had to send a contractor in there to check on the furnace, the guy slipped on the floor and fell because there was so much dog crap on there. Oh, you can't say anything. They have the right to live this way. How about the vagrancy of all the beggars on the corners around here? There's so many people that are sitting their sorry butts on the corners, and they're making an average of about 40 grand to 60 grand a year tax free from idiots who stop and give them water or give them something to eat and such. There's places where they can go get food. That used to be called vagrancy, and that was not allowed.
I still argue that the core problem with the whole begging industry right now is that people are stupid enough to take part in it and give them money. Because if they stopped doing that, the whole thing would disappear overnight.
And they would be forced to actually get a job. But there's one guy that sits on a ramp by our house here. He's there like every single day. He parks his car a quarter of a mile away, and he carries his walker with him, and he sits on the corner, and he leaves all of his trash and crap on the corner when he leaves for somebody else to pick up as he walks in a fast pace back to his car. But man, he's got the best beggar face on ever. He's like,
yeah, got a cell phone and a laptop.
Maybe I should
do that again. Let me get a screenshot.
Yeah. You gotta have the beggar face. You gotta have the pathetic beggar face so that the snowflakes pitch you a couple bucks so you can go buy your drugs and alcohol and cigarettes. Is that
I think
what
Ralph
she
is
was
right.
doing?
It's truly an industry. I think
It
that there's
is.
people behind it, at the top. It's a multi-level multi-level begging scheme, and the money flows up, and I'm sure politicians have something to do with it because they allow it and the police allow it. And Bloomfield Hills on some of the busiest corners, the most wealthiest area in the state. There's beggars all over the place. And
But the
there's different ones.
responsibility,
Every day there's a different one, and like families, and they bring their kids, and it's like this is like an industry. It truly
It
is.
is.
but the
goodwill.
responsibility for that falls on the stupid people that keep giving them money and keep giving them, keep supporting that lifestyle.
There's so many stupid people, Ralph, out there. I
Do-
still
do-
know people that are doctors and lawyers, and I consider them intelligent people. They're obviously not, but they hate Trump. They're going to vote for Biden. They're all for everything. And it's like, you're never going to get people to stop giving beggars money, but these people are they're beyond hope. It's amazing. It's just
My best
scary.
beggar story. So this guy was sitting out in a wheelchair in front of this restaurant like this. He's going like this, right? An expensive restaurant in Grand Rapids. This was years ago. I'm not kidding you. Best beggar ever. Like this. He had it down. He got up, and we were walking out. We were walking back to our car after leaving the restaurant. I got no use for these people. I'm going to tell you what. He got in a side street, which coincidentally we were taking to get back to where our car was. As soon as he was off the road, the wheelchair got folded up, and this guy sprinted for 3 blocks. It's a miracle. He was healed. He gets to the bus stop, takes a flask of vodka out, and chugs that thing like a champion after he has just sprinted 2-3 blocks. Where's the shakes? It's a miracle. God healed him, and he's
just like a politician. Same thing.
And then you got the J6ers out there who are in true trouble, and these morons detract from it because they're just worthless. I have no pity for them. There are places they can go and get help. They don't need to be littering our streets with their crap for us to look at and try to suck in stupid people to fund their beggar lifestyle. Not buying it. Sorry.
So I was looking at something that Trump's just posted. Two really cool things, but just to change the subject a little bit.
That's okay.
Just to show you that, being confused is part of this, and there's really no way to know who's good and who's bad or anything other than probably President Trump is good. But this is from Trump. Thank you to Brian Kemp for all of your help and support in Georgia, where a win is so important. I look forward to working with you and your team. This guy, we thought, totally betrayed Trump and everything. And here Trump is thanking him. So it's just even Donald Trump, who's our leader, below God, but our leader, is sowing confusion. So we're meant to be confused. Part of the whole deal.
I think it's meant to ask us for us to ask why. What is going on there? I posted that last night, and my only comment was interesting because there's more going on behind the scenes than we know. What does this mean about Kemp? What kind of conversation went on behind the scenes for those two, for Trump to say this?
Yeah.
Did Kemp flip? Did Kemp say, okay, I got it. I see I'm going to have to do the right thing now. And Trump is letting everybody know he's done that.
Or was he playing a role from the beginning, Karen?
Or was he playing a role? We don't know. But Trump is pointing our attention to it. And that's where you're supposed to ask questions. Why?
Or is he controlled?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what Karen said at the beginning. Is he?
Or who's controlling him?
And flipped. And,
who's controlling him?
I say if Donna doesn't know the answer, we're not going to figure it out. It's not meant to figure out. And Karen, you're probably right. It's just meant to point attention to it for some reason. Maybe it's not even for us. And then the New York Post, the cover, I don't know if you guys saw it today. It said, the DN talks about the DNC convention right on the front. It says it's all an act in huge bold letters. Tory said the same thing. It's all AI controlled, and you can't trust anything you see anymore. It's so perfect you would not know if it's AI or if it's really happening. Anything, even riots and stuff. So,
well, that even with Wuhan, I used to do crowd scene analysis when Wuhan was going on. I've got all the screenshots of it and such, but I did crowd scene analysis, and most of what you were seeing was CGI. Most
the people
of it
falling over in the street, just
the what?
The people falling over in the street, you mean?
And they had people there were color coordinated because they weren't quite as good at it, and they were kicking the stuff out too fast. So if you understood or could see CGI, you could pick it out pretty easily. It's just like, remember when they were spraying people in the street?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's not possible to take those pictures the way they did it. That was gaming software. I picked it out right away. It's like a lot of that was gaming software that they were using to generate images on. And
what's going on in it's just, I try to look at the 30,000, 40,000 foot view, something they want us to be confused. The good people and the bad people, everybody wants the populace to be confused and to not do anything and kind of feel paralyzed because something else is going on.
Somebody's smarter than me. Somebody out there is smarter than me, clearly. So I shouldn't do anything.
You know what? God, I hope somebody out there is smarter than me. I hope I'm the dumbest person on the planet because it's like, I'm going to tell you what, I've got no faith in the future. I hope the smartest people are up there doing something,
I think
I'll be down here in dummy land.
It doesn't mean we shouldn't fight. It doesn't mean we should not fight with our pens,
right,
and our words, and continue to do broadcasts like this and help people. But I do feel something big, something way beyond our imagination is probably going on.
I agree with that.
Now I sound like a podcaster. I have some silver for sale too.
Yeah, you're selling hopium. Never know. Yeah, we don't sell silver or gold in here. We're not like pushing all of these little links. And
that's how you can tell Donna's a good person. I told somebody this. One, she stood up and ran for a position, and the deep state and everybody attacked her. The Republicans and the Democrats did everything possible. So that's one hint. And the other hint is she goes on podcasts every day for years and never sells anything to anyone. So you can pretty much know who's good and who's bad. And Tori's the same way. She ran for office. Donna Tori was just like you. She ran for office, and they destroyed her and did all the same baloney they did to you. And she does all her podcasts and stuff. She doesn't sell anything.
I just try to help people out. It's like this should be a full-time job for everyone to live your life, to earn your living, and then have a civic responsibility and serve this nation as a part-time job or a full-time job, whatever you can do. But everyone should make a commitment every single day to serve in the United States of America. You don't have to be a cop or military or anything else like that. You as a person, a citizen of the United States of America, a true American, right, who has citizenship here. Yeah. You should. Yeah, I know you got an issue with that. You can laugh. A person domiciled, whatever words you want to use.
A man or woman who resides on the land of.
Yeah, whatever.
A lot of people don't know how they can serve the country, but I don't know what you guys think of this, but if you go to Project 2025 and you put in your resume and fill out it takes like an hour or two. It's a serious thing to do. Those names, from what I understand, the people on that are going to be the people that are going to be called upon to run the country. Forget Project 2025, because I know there's controversy. I don't know anything about it. I don't really care.
How about you look in your own backyard just to find something to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Put your resume in there, seriously.
I'm suspicious
of
pretty much
anywhere. I'm not giving a stranger
anywhere.
my resume.
Yeah, I'm pretty suspicious of pretty much anywhere that's collecting data on people anymore.
Well, look at Trump Victory. Trump Victory and some of these other fundraisers, they're just using President Trump's name, and people are dumb enough to sit there and vote and contribute to him. I don't think he even has any touch with these things. I really don't. I think this is just a bunch of people that are out there trying to raise money, to raise more money, to raise more money, to raise more money, rather than to fix this. And the only way to fix this is to get the money out of politics, so we're not buying votes.
Exactly.
I think another thing that, people want to know what they can do, just do stuff like, join your school board, get involved in your kids' lives, and actually parent. That's a huge thing.
My goodness. What a radical idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ralph, you're a radical. You've
Ralph,
gotten
you're way too radical. We're going to have to mute you.
you've gotten into dangerous
Raise your
territory
kids.
there, Ralph.
I mean, you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to go any higher level, really, than just your local community.
But nobody will see you, Ralph. They won't have an audience. They won't make money. You're getting to be radicalized.
There's got to be an AI for that. Talking to your kids and raising your kids. No, I can't go that far.
Yeah, put the iPads away and don't let the iPad raise your kid.
That's true. That's what's
And
happening.
you've
They're all
seen
on
people that
iPads.
do that in restaurants.
Yeah.
They sit there and have their kids. They're in the iPad. The parents barely talk because they don't know how to talk anymore. The kids are on
And the
iPad.
teenagers are texting each other across the dinner table.
Right, they're texting each other, but they can't talk.
Yeah.
Let's have a table topic today. What can you do today? Table topic for the day. Maybe I should start that every day.
Donna, we should write a book. We should write a book. Like,
yeah, I'll write a book like every other political hack
here's
out
a
there.
sentence. Here's a sentence you should say. Bring it up at the dinner table, and here's a list of topics.
Yeah, there you go.
I think that's a great idea. That's what Tucker Carlson said that his dad did with his brother and him, is they would have a topic at dinner and they would have these really good discussions, age related. As they got older, it became, I don't know.
Believe it or not, our family is weird enough that we absolutely could sit there and talk for 5 or 6 hours, and sometimes we do. And we don't have topics. We just like talk because we're all nerds, So I'll give you a question today. Let me think of how it was provided. Did you know that armadillos have leprosy?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that.
All right. So I'm glad you guys know that, because when that was asked years and years ago, I'm sitting there going, he's trying to get me. I'm not going to fight him. So
well, you were trained like that horse. You were trained like the horse that is. There's going to be trick questions probably.
Yeah, I know this person, and this person loves nothing better than to get me. So I'm sitting there going, Nope, not buying it. And so then, of course, you get the phone out and you're checking this out. And yes, in fact, armadillos carry leprosy. So that's another one. So
they make great pets, though.
Just like those lizards carried the COVID.
Yeah, and you have like COVID in one nostril, a kangaroo, and not the other one. Boy, I said that in the hospital where my mom was. I don't think I made a lot of friends with that one. I'm
sure they hated you.
I'm not buying all this COVID bullshit so you can save it. And I actually said that. And I'm like, how do you get like leopard, or how do you get COVID from one nostril, a kangaroo, and not the other one? I'm like, this is some kind of weaponized bullshit I've never seen in my life. Well, the nurses, of course, they were a little offended by that at first, until I got to one that was actually thinking. She goes, yeah, you're kind of right, Like,
how is it that fruits and vegetables? How is it that fruits and vegetables can test positive for COVID?
It's like, yeah. And I'm like, I know why they test positive for COVID. I made a lot of friends with this in the hospital too. I said, I know why they test positive for COVID, because y'all are getting paid for every single test that goes out of here, and also getting paid for people dying. One of the nurses ended up looking at me going, I'm triggered. And she runs down the hallway. I'm like,
serious? They're horrible. We got to get rid of half the nurses and doctors in the country that participated in this scam. They're still doing it too.
They're still doing it. Still
vaccinating kids.
Then they get all sorts of authoritarian, like the little ultimatum that I had a couple of days ago. You're going to wear your mask or I'm going to have security remove you.
Yeah, the Nazis.
I'm like, that doesn't work too well with me, just so you know. And so you might want to rethink your patient communication thing and give me your name, badge number, and name, because I'm reporting you for poor communication. I'm like, where's the rule? I said, you got a rule on this? No, you don't have a rule on it. So you just come in selectively harassing. That doesn't work too well for me. What's your name?
Terrible.
Go off the chain. So
Terrible.
anyhow, I got to take a break here a minute, guys, because I've got Jalise and Dave Sumrall coming on next, talking about the J6ers. If you guys want to stay on, I'll take a quick break, and then I can dismiss you after these guys are on, because I want to give them their time in the sun to talk a little bit too. So
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll be right back in the third hour of Brandenburg News Network with Jalise Middleton and Dave Sumrall. My buds, fighting the good fight, being ornery with a Texas accent. Be right back. And welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 23rd day of August 2024. Welcome to our show today. I'm going to bring everybody back on, including Jalise and Dave Sumrall. How you guys doing?
Hi. Doing good. Hey,
So
everybody.
There's that
Good to
Texas
see everybody.
There's that Texas accent.
There you go.
I love it.
You know what I love from people from the South? It's like they take their time to talk. It's like, well, hello, how are you? I'm fine. In Michigan here, we talk so fast, and you want to know why? It's because if we don't talk fast, our lips freeze together in the winter. So we even leave words and letters out. You know?
We have to talk slower. We'll dehydrate. It's too much.
I think it's absolutely hilarious.
Dehydrate.
Somebody from Michigan, and we actually have a really distinct accent from Michigan. We leave all kinds of letters out. We combine words. We're a total mess when it comes to language and being able to talk. But I digress.
That's great. We would say y'all have some problems with your language, but we have the same ones. We make up our own words. We have a really good time, though.
Oh, yeah, we do.
It's hilarious. It's just like when people from the South say, well, bless your heart. That is a nice way of saying, screw you.
That's exactly right.
It happens. It happens.
That's like the Southern way of using the F word, but still looking gracious so your mom doesn't slap you or wash your mouth out with soap.
That is absolutely right.
Southern hospitality at its finest.
I lived a few years in Tennessee, and I'm a Michiganian who moved to Tennessee for some of my childhood, and eventually came back. She's thumbed down because she wants to say Michigander, but Michiganian is a more historic term, so I use it anyway, just to spite I spite the governor, but who spites the people with Michigander.
Yeah, we're
But
all
anyway,
Michigese.
I have sometimes my Southern accent will slip out because I can do either way. And if I hung out with you at all, Jalise, I would ask you not to be offended because I would probably butcher a Texas accent, but the Southern would slide out.
Slide out.
You know,
I
I
wanna-
don't hear an accent, so, but I'm told often that I have it. So
Yeah, you
I
do.
want to say, Jalise, I've been listening. I had to go back. Sometimes I was doing it a couple days late, but I was listening to the shows that you've been on introducing these J6ers. And I found it really impressive, informative, faithful, full of faith. And I keep sharing them and telling people, hey, you need to listen. If you need a little bit of patriotism, faith, strength, endurance, courage, all of that. You need to listen to this show. And you've done a great job introducing them consistently, saying, tell us who you were before and how it shaped your life, how it's changed the whole family. So I want to thank you for doing that for them and for everybody, because I think you've made more of an impact than you probably know.
Well, and it's important to have the people that are in the situation, talking about it, because, and I think this is the strength of doing long interviews like this, because people get to know other people as friends, not as personalities or somebody that has got everything. How many times have you listened to anyone on any media that hasn't had every word coming out of their mouth curated? It's all they're not authentic, and they're scripted. They've got like their 3 talking points, and they go down them just faithfully. We're going to hit all 3 of them, make sure they're in, because they're going to get cut off in less than 3 minutes. So it's like 1, 2, 3, done and out of here. You don't have honest discussions that way. You never get to the core of the issue when you do that. And it takes time. It's like everything else. You want to know God, you got to get in that Bible, and you've got to spend some time in it. Those things you love, you're going to be a parent, you've got to spend time with your kids. Those things that you love, you need to invest time in, and caring, and not just cram as many things as you can. Pick out what God's telling you to do and put some time and invest it and do it really well.
I didn't know really. I'll just, me, I'm sometimes honest to a fault. When we discussed doing this podcast, I really thought to myself, great, another podcast on J6ers. Like, there's hundreds of them. But God took control of this one from day one, and I'm kind of excited at watching him. I didn't know the direction, but one thing I knew is by me being interviewed so much, no one really asked, who are you?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, what'd your life look like? Who's the person behind that title? And oddly enough, during the podcast, I didn't have a direction for it. That's the first question that hit me. And when I asked it, I just started seeing it come together, that now we're bringing a person back to that title, that these were normal individuals. Yeah, there's some that have a criminal past. I don't cover that up, but every single person, their rights have been violated in some way, and they have been devalued as human beings. Just the raid alone is absolutely horrific. How many people will stand back and watch lasers being pointed off of M4s at their 2-year-old and not almost lose their shit? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I want those stories out there. I want you to see that someone was sitting around the breakfast table, rushing through their morning, trying to get ready for work, trying to be the best they could be, and the government come in and destroyed them. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what they did. They didn't go out and murder 150 people at the mall. Where are you getting that ideology that that's ever okay?
Have you interviewed any of them that you felt actually did something intentionally wrong, of all these people you interview?
No.
None of them.
That's why we're so blown away. I'm surprised someone hadn't been hurt more seriously, to be honest, because it looks like someone's trying to attack your home. You're not thinking, oh, the FBI's coming after me because I went out and hurt a bunch of people. You don't realize it was any type of big enough deal to justify that. Mm-hmm. And so, like me, I mean, when they come to raid me, I went for my gun. I don't know if I went to grab it or if I just looked at it. I don't remember what I did, but I remember the thought being there of, do I need to go guns a-blazing to get my husband back? What do I need to do? And I know I'm not the only one. That's not just a Texas thing. Yes, I will say we're probably the biggest in that ideology, but
bless your heart.
Well, bless your heart.
Good to bring that around. But anyway, the Lord really he took control of that, and he's been able to show the people the human being behind that, the atrocities in that. And then he shows up and says, but God. And that's what's been happening. Even some of our toughest guys that have spent 3 years in prison, you hear them say, but God. Yesterday or day before yesterday, I had Brittany Perkins on there. And Brittany Perkins even said with her husband, the Lord has done things with him that in his entire life we could not get there. I mean, he is such a better person for it. He's doing Bible studies in the prison with people. I mean, I'm telling you, God's building his army through this. And just like when you prune a tree, I said it this morning to someone, just like when you prune a tree, it's going to weep. Okay, we're being pruned. We're going to weep. But boy, when spring comes,
Going to be amazing. Well, guys, I'm gonna give David and Jalise their time in the sun here. Thanks for being on, and you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Okay?
Thank
Yeah,
you
give
so
us-
much.
Good, thank you.
Love you
Give
guys.
us a
Bye.
call later if you like.
All right. Thank you.
Good to
Bye.
see you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
bye,
Bless your
y'all.
heart. Bless your heart, Karen.
Be nice.
Right? Well, I bet
I love
everybody
Karen.
knows David, but we'll go ahead and make it a formal introduction. This is like my brother here, my brother in Christ, my J6 brother, not to mention my APR brother, American Patriot Relief. Introduce yourself, David.
Well, that's easier on you. I'm just a carpenter. Okay, let's go. What's up?
Who wears cowboy boots? I'm sure because you're from Texas.
From Texas, y'all. I
Yeah,
forgot
from
to throw that
Texas,
in.
y'all.
So we'll get this dueling dialect here. This we'll have our twangs and our times, and we'll really get into our groove here in a little while, and it'll be just great. So y'all just hang in there. But no, I'm just an investigator guy, J6er. I'm not really a J6er. I'm the J6 witness, is what I have coined, I guess, the phrase. But I was there. I took a video crew, filmed, came back, started building all this evidence out for the public. Lawyers noticed it and wanted to hire me as an investigator for their clients. So I do the deep dive investigation. I'm licensed to go through all the government video and have been for, I guess we're pushing 3.5 years now, almost 4 years.
How'd you get licensed to do that?
Through the lawyers. They hired me as an investigator, and I was able to get licensed through the Department of Justice. They okayed me to be in their system to use the videos for court. I can't publish anything to the public. I didn't have the same rights as those reporters that got access to publish things, or I would have shown you everything because I've been looking at it for 2.5 years at that point when they got permission. But we know what's in there. We know the skeletons in the closet. We've used it in court cases. I've probably worked on, 30 or 40 different cases, including, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, Jalise. I mean, everybody that's anybody that I've met, we've tried to help, and we don't charge anybody. We've put out 4 documentaries so far that are all free. Everything we do, we try to make it free. Even
What, you're not selling gold and silver?
No, I don't do any of that stuff. I don't even know what that is, but just, it's something we can do. And I think God has protected us through that in not getting lawsuits and stuff for trying to sell other people's materials or things. We're just trying to provide the video from the day and the video that's accessible to the public and put it in order so people understand what actually happened and the nuance and the voice and the language. The CCTV didn't have the sound. The public video does. When you put them together, it tells a different story. And that's what we've tried to do, for the last 4 years almost. And it's been an interesting experience to watch this family grow, this J6 experience. I'm sure there's more good than bad. And I know right now that's hard to see, but it's that silver process, the refining, and learning what that means and giving thanks through it and learning grace and all the things that are important. So yeah, that's the website, stop8.com. All the documentaries are free. There's reports, there's research. J6, The True Timeline is our latest. And then Tucker Carlson said everybody in America should see that one. Newsflash, they haven't yet. So y'all help with that. Please go share J6 A True Timeline and everything we have on here. There's a drop down tab that goes to J6. And if you hit the tab and go to J6, it's got probably 20 or more different calls to action that people can support these folks. And one of the things I said on Tucker, they're not just numbers, they're names, and they're people, they have families, they have stories, and they're important, to God and to us. And that's how you support them, through the letters, through the mail, through the prayers, buying the books. Everything's a fundraiser for these guys. And it's different levels for different folks. Somebody might not have a dime, but they can pray. Somebody might have a couple bucks and want to do some commissary funding. But there's things that people can do to get involved. That's the bottom line, whether it's, contacting your senator, helping with research, or just sharing the information that we've put together. It's the most helpful thing that people can do. And I guess Jalise will attest to the fact that guys in prison appreciate the letters more than anything. If you could just write them a letter and say, hey, we appreciate you. You're not forgotten. We're waiting for you to get out, and tell them what's going on, whatever. And go to Patriot Mail Project for that. All the support group links, APR, AGC, all of the good ones are right there. So you can go on and find ways to support through those efforts. And of course, the sharing of the information, I can't stress enough, especially right before the election, how important it is for people to understand what happened and why we are where we are. So I think it's the takeaway for that.
So you were there, but it's kind of amazing to me that you were there and you were there to record and such. That's amazing.
Well, it's funny. My experience. So I started Stop Hate in '92 during the LA riots, and we saw what the media did with a little bit of video with Rodney King and the police, and they showed this much of it, didn't tell the backstory, and they created this firestorm, this riot, this hatred, this illusion that all blacks hate all whites and all whites hate all blacks. And I was bringing a kid into the world, and my wife was pregnant at the time. And I said, how can we let this go unchecked? So we decided to start Stop Hate way back then, before internet or anything. And it's just an awareness program, an acronym, Start Turning Off Prejudice, Heal Attitudes Through Education. Real simple. Cool. We need to have conversations. We need to talk. We need to get to know each other. We need to have that awareness. These are emotional injuries that we all suffer from. It's attitude adjustment. It's like being thankful instead of being bitter, and it is a choice, like everything. So that's a long story on that. But knowing what I know about the media, doing demand free speech work over the last several years during Trump, led me to know that the media never tell the truth about what happened on January 6th, no matter what happened. So I and several friends decided that we would go and spread out and film. And when we did that, we literally captured some of the death. We captured the actual size of the crowd. We captured the police brutality. We got Ray Epps at the first gate before anything started happening. And then we filmed Ray Epps as he was leaving the park. So there were integral, very important things that had to do with the timeline. Those are just a little pieces, tiny pieces. But it's been a wild ride. God has provided everything that we couldn't have done this by ourselves. All the witnesses to the deaths. I mean, in the first 6 months, we found the witnesses to Officer Sicknick, to the guys that were down at the front, Kevin Greason and Benjamin Phillips. I already knew the people that were around Roseanne Boyland. I met the guy that was next to Ashley. We became good friends. I mean, that's how God works, to bring the evidence. It's his story. It's his timeline. He just allowed us to find the pieces that we need, and we just edited it. You know what I'm saying? We just put them together. And all people have seen for the last 4 years is bits and pieces, east side, west side, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Even the select committee guys, in their latest little ad they showed, they show our friend Trennis Evans on his megaphone. Mike Pence didn't do what he said he was supposed to do. It sounds just like him. I know I do a really good Trennis. But they say that happened at 2:24. That's a bold-faced lie. That happened at 4:17. And they're trying to say, because he's standing out there with Big O Barnett. Big O has a piece of paper off of Nancy's desk. And Trennis, Mike Pence, he just came out and got a signal and reading his phone. He's already been inside and come back out. It's 4:17. But they're trying to say that he started that at 2:24 by getting on the megaphone and telling everybody in the crowd, Mike didn't do it. Rush the place. And just in my last court case now, I've testified in 9 different trials. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago was my 9th one. The prosecution played the video, the overview of the crowd pouring in, and made the mistake of letting it play till 2:24. It was beautiful. She stopped it a couple of times along the way and said, "Do you see the protesters fighting with the police here?" And I would say, "Yes." Please push play again, like in my mind. And she would play it again, 2:18. "Oh, she's close. She's close. Do you see the police fighting with the crowd here?" "Yes." And then she gets to 2:24 and the whole thing happens. And she said, "Do you see here where the crowd overtook the police and broke the police line?" I said, "No, I see where the police gassed themselves out." She said, "Oh, no further questions." And then Jonathan Gross pulls the Officer Thal video. Says, "Your Honor, I'd like to play this video. It's in the discovery, or it's in the record." So play the Officer Thal video, and the one cop's telling Thal, "Shoot." And he said, "What is this?" I said, "It's a launcher." He said, "What is that he's putting in it?" I said, "It's CS gas cartridge. They've already been warned not to use it because of the wind." He says, "Put it over the effing scaffolding." And he goes to shoot it over the scaffolding, and it misfires and goes about 30 feet in front of them. And instantly all that smoke comes back, and they're just, the whole time. The whole time is beautiful.
That's right.
God has a sense of humor.
We got to watch that for the next 5 minutes as they cleared that whole section down. And it was amazing. And, we proved that I was telling the truth. She was trying to make me into a liar. Really ruined her day. We showed the jury that the Secret Service and the Capitol Police, they all lied, proved it. Still guilty all counts.
Right.
Because they're not a jury, they're a execution squad. They're victims. And I think what you should ask people is, do you think that the people in Washington, D.C. were affected by January 6th? And everybody will say, "Well, sure. Yeah, of course." Well, then how can they be on a jury? They're a victim. Oh, well, no, come on now. Because even the judges live there, and if they live there, they should be recused. So, that's the way I look at it. I don't think if all the BLMers that ever got caught doing something bad, if we brought them all down here to Texas and said, "Hey, boys, we'll handle this. We'll put them through court real nice and easy. We'll just walk them right through there and hold their hand the Texas way. We'll be fine. Just bring all them BLMers down to Texas and we'll give them fair trials with a jury of their peers." I don't think anybody would go for that. I wouldn't go for that. I'd be like, "Come on, man. Are you serious right now?" Well, look at Washington, D.C. We even had a repeat juror on this last jury, and all the jurors were shocked that the judge allowed her to be on another one, or this person. I don't know, him or her, right? So that's where we are with this system. They're just waiting for somebody to shut up long enough for them to say guilty. It doesn't matter. And until we get that change of venue or some real judges, because at this point they're letting out. I can't say the last judge didn't do really good for us, because he did. But I'd say for the most part, these people are in cahoots in the deal on the payroll of whatever sort it is.
Something.
And I don't know if these attorneys get a kickback at the end of the deal if we get a plea without going to trial, or if you go to trial and still win, or what. I don't know. But it seems like a contest for these lawyers to try to get these people to take a plea, more than anything. And I've heard the stories from hundreds of J6ers, and they all sound the same, and they're all rotten. So
Yep.
That's enough of us.
You're absolutely right. And, but even in my own jury trial, same thing. You could sense in the courtroom something was amiss. There was some sort of relationship between the jurors and the prosecutors and the judge that I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew it didn't feel right.
Let me tell you, though, it's so institutionalized. And here's the way it works. Trennis and I, we've done this enough. Of course, I've testified in way more trials, but he had as much fun in his with the prosecution. And we learned really early that anything you say on social media, as you know, Jalise, they will come back and repeat. So literally, I was up there on the stand a couple of weeks ago, and the prosecutor said, "Just yesterday on social media, you said," and I'm thinking, does anybody else see what's going on here? I'm just the witness, right? I'm the guy that's just coming to say,
attacking the witness,
combing through my social media, combing through my podcast. Y'all be amazed at some of the things that they've tried to. They even said, "Oh, you've said that you're proud that Donald Trump uses the words J6 hostage," and I said, "Yes, I am. That's very cool. I mean, he's quoting us. I mean, it was political prisoners." And I was like, "No, prisoners have rights. Hostages." 3 years ago, and so, yeah, I'm proud of that. You think I'm going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry that a former president quotes me or something?" Like, no, I'm proud of that because it's getting the word out. I felt like telling her, "Hey, don't feel bad. Even Joe Biden quotes Trump, which quotes us." So, everybody does it. They can't help it.
Because he's just right. Let's just say it right now. President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, quoting you or that sort of thing. That's kind of like a huge badge of honor there. And I'm sure that gave him a little bit of heartburn to know that our guy there, President Trump, is stepping up to make sure that everybody knows that this is not okay.
Yeah, hostages is a lot different. When we've done the yellow ribbon stuff, you see all the gear and things we do. It's all geared to remind people of Iran, the hostages we had there and how people were, anxious to get them free. Why don't we have that same attitude about the people to be in hostage, held hostage right here in America? And Jalise will tell you, it's because they don't know, and we go everywhere all the time. We don't know. We thought that was over. We didn't think it was a thing. We never even knew about it. What is J6?
That's still going on?
Yeah. So it's tragic that Americans are that involved. And that earlier part of your show talking about local school boards, city councils, county clerk, commissioner, whatever you can do to be involved in your town. And guys, listen, we could go into this. I don't really want to, but we're in the wrong mode, kind of. We're getting ready for this election and getting ready. Oh, come on, we got to get the vote. You better be organizing with your neighborhoods and you better be organizing with your towns, because bad things can happen and we want to be preventative and we want to get the word out and be proactive that we don't want a civil war. I'm not mad at Democrats for being stupid. I'll just say it. I'm mad at the direction of our politicians that pit people against each other, trying to spark a civil war between people that don't really have a beef with anyone but them. That's what.
And we're in a dangerous spot because we are 4 years into this. I mean, we're 3.5 years in right now.
Yes.
And we are still trying to just get the information out.
Yes.
People, we're so far behind the game. Is there even hope, David?
Well, they control the fake stream media thanks to Obama and the policies he put in place. That's right. And so, this was a long-term setup for how we got here. It really was. And so I think that the good thing is that there's so many people who are citizen journalists or people that do podcasts or broadcasts or whatever you want to call it, to get the message out there. As soon as people turn that TV off and stop listening to the fake news and go and try to find real news out there and people talking about it, it's all over. Yes. They can't make policies against that.
No.
I was a swing voter. I just got to share this real quick. I was a swing voter. I wasn't a Republican. Okay. Drove my husband crazy. Reason I'm a swing voter, I'll be honest, is due to lack of knowledge, because I didn't really get into politics. But I want to tell you how I woke up to what was going on. I woke up because unlike my husband, I was willing to look at both sides. And I was watching CNN one day, and I cannot remember what had happened, but I had watched the Trump speech the night before. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching CNN, and they were interviewing Barack Obama, who was just sitting there, basically, I hate Trump, I hate Trump, I hate Trump. They started quoting things out of the speech, which I watched that I knew he said as a joke. And they played it like it was dead serious. And that's when I'm like, but they weren't even talking about the dilemma in society that should have been the main news. I don't remember what the dilemma was, but it was something big
It's
That
amazing.
should have been splattered all over the news.
So in a recap, what you're saying is same as J6. There's this terrible thing going inside the building, but they're going to whip up this thing that happened outside to take away from the thing that was happening inside that was really bad, because what happened outside wasn't really all that bad. We were like, what? Walking around like, it
So
should
I
be
go over to
legal.
Fox News, I play it, and they're all over it. And
Oh, yeah.
and this was before they got sold out. But whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
was it?
I
What was it?
went over there and I'm like, I can't believe I'm seeing this with my own eyes. And that woke me up to where I started paying attention. So to this day, I still, like, I watched part of the DNC, a couple nights of the DNC.
Ooh.
Everyone in my house was losing their mind on me. They're like, you're going to make me vomit. And I said, you need to know what is being imputed into the people that are trying to hurt you so that you understand they're not the bad guy. They have been lied to and they bought it. And you don't know how to counter it if you don't know what they've been told.
But let me ask you a question. Have you ever been pantsed? Maybe y'all haven't, but you see where I'm going with this. Listen, if you've ever been tricked, duped, swindled, whatever, the best response for people is not to come up to you and go, ha ha, you got pantsed, ha ha. And we haven't gotten past that yet, folks. We haven't remembered what grace is. I really am thankful in a lot of ways, and I know this is weird, that we didn't win last time, because all we would have done is rub it in, and then they would have annihilated us after Trump. They would have been ready for the next 16-year term, right?
Sore loser. I mean, that sore loser mentality or sore winner mentality,
Winners.
where you want to shove it, where people want to shove it in their faces. It's like, we don't want to be right. We want to have things restored.
But we do it every day with COVID. Ha ha, you took the shot. You signed your own death certificate.
Yes.
Ha ha. How?
You're going to say you care about people.
Can't do that.
And then you're going to be happy that they're dying from this.
Can't do that.
I don't get that either.
You know what it is it's like I see that all the time too, where people, they want to be right and they want to make sure that other people pay for disagreeing with them.
Terrible.
Or for doing something. This is wrong.
Stop hate.
You don't glow. Yeah, stop hate. You don't gloat about being right over somebody else. It's just like, welcome them in. Don't even mention it again, because it's painful for people to admit that they didn't know something and to change. If we make fun of them in the midstream of change, they'll never step over that bar to actually change, just because people fight against that sort of thing.
I think the difference is ministry, and I think that's what, if you're a Christian and you're trying to get more people in the lifeboat, sugar works better. And you're going to be nice and kind to people. It's that Texan thing. Once again, that Southern hospitality in a different way. It's not the God bless you, get in the boat. It's get in the boat so God can bless you, and literally that's where we are on a day-to-day. So if it's kingdom business and that's where your focus is, it's when we get distracted and focus on self. If we weren't focused on self all the time, if we were more interested, like Jalise, in other people's struggles, trying to support, help, build, grow, you don't have time for your own, and God takes care of that. It's amazing. Even with the problems we suffer, it's like, Paul, I'm glad I have an affirmity. I'm glad that I have something that keeps me grounded, keeps me real, but I'm still in the game, and I'm here to support and supply, and I can still do that, even as afflicted as I am, or Jalise, or you, Don. I mean, it's just where we are. We're not perfect, but we're trying. And I think that more people have to understand that rubbing in, that being mean, that being cruel, the after, God does not bless that, even if you win the election. And look, you may view all these people as evil and deserving, but weren't you?
Right.
So.
Well, and that's something I think we need to point out is we forget that discerning spirits is a gift.
Yes.
It's mentioned in scripture, and different people receive different gifts. So these people being deceived because of fear, because they trusted someone that they wouldn't lie to them.
Horrible.
They trusted that their heart would be good.
Oh.
And we're going to laugh at them because they murdered them out of their trust, or because they've made them sick and took their life away. I am absolutely blown away by that. And I'm going to be honest, I've dealt with a little bit of that inside my home.
Oh, we all do.
And I'm not comfortable with that notion at all.
Here's the thing. I'm going to trust you with my kid, and then you hurt my kid. If somebody needs perspective, how would you feel? Now, even if it's me, okay, I got tricked, I got duped, but you hurt my kid, and how can I get past that of wanting revenge? Because that's God's. Listen, they brought that up in court last time. They were like, "Did you say something about holy vengeance and all this stuff?" And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "That's God." God's, and that's not mine. So God, yeah. Did you hear? Did you read? Did you listen to what you just? God's holy. That's not me. That's
Donna,
God.
do you hear how many times just in 2 weeks during trials we have heard them attack God?
God.
Because
Listen,
in mine,
what-
it was the whole, Jericho March. Oh, you wanted to bring down the walls of the Capitol. And Brittany mentioned it in hers that, they confronted Michael during his on some religious basis. That you're going to say that,
You want to hear something beautiful about that, though?
What?
They're acknowledging that there's power in walking around the walls and bringing the walls down. I mean, if it didn't mean anything, they would shut up. So they must be really afraid of this.
Now, let me tell you the moral of the story, folks, and Jalise will attest to this. That's the whole reason they're mad. We took God onto the property. We prayed. We sang to Jesus. We did all the things. We stood against the criminals. More crime and death and destruction has come out of that one building than anywhere on the planet. Think about that for just a minute. And we went there to say, hey, we think you're tricking us. We think you screwed our vote over. And we're just here to say no. Police attacked us. See, in all these court cases, they take away your First Amendment right. Protest, religion, media, grievance, gather, all the reasons that you were there. And then you can't defend yourself. And then they get to say, oh, you were here to overthrow our democracy. Their words. This is our sanctuary. You defiled our temple. Their words. So who do they worship as opposed to who do we worship? And we took God, the presence of God, into the halls. And let me tell you, it pissed them off really bad. And they're still extracting their pound of flesh from these innocent grandmas like Rebecca Lavren's. I testified in her trial too. $103,000 is the world record on a misdemeanor fine. In history ever. That's the pound of flesh our government wants. They said shock and awe. They want to label us as domestic violent extremists and lock us away without due process. That's coming to a neighborhood near everyone if we don't do something immediately.
That's good, David. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And all I could think of is, in scripture with Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham said, Lord, don't destroy it. If I can find five faithful people worthy, will you not destroy it? And sadly, he couldn't even find 5. We had 2 million out there that day.
Yeah.
We had 2 million. This ain't over yet.
Where are they? Where are they?
I would like to know that.
I
But
posted.
David,
Mhm.
we're just called to be quiet and pray.
That's right.
Yes, that's it. Because you know why? It's Gentile Jesus with the lamb sitting on its foot. That's what we worship now.
Yeah.
You
And,
know,
and,
it's
you know,
like,
church
yeah,
and
we can't say anything. We might hurt somebody's feelings. We might not have somebody sitting their butts in our church if we speak the truth, because we're going to hurt their feelings.
oh yeah, you got to separate that church and state at somewhere. And I hadn't
That's
been caught
right.
yet.
That's what brought Satan into this, okay?
Poke, poke, poke.
This is such a pet peeve of mine because, people will tell me, like when I give them examples out of the Old Testament, right, of all the times kill, every man, woman, child, livestock.
Come
And they're
on.
like, that was Old Testament. And I will say, okay, then tell me how we're supposed to put on armor.
Oh my gosh.
Ephesians 6. Explain that one, hot dog. If you're going to claim we're supposed to sit down, shut up, and just watch the fireworks, you're part of it.
What
You
is that?
are taking out other Christians.
What is that joke about? Everyone's going to be so surprised when he comes back because he's bringing a sword. He's pissed off and he's black. So get ready. Get ready. You're not going to know what to do. I mean, think about this is the reality we live in, and they're going to go, that what? Yeah, imagine all these. So sadly, folks, and listen, on a really serious note, I hope people check themselves and think about your relationship. Think about who your king is. Who do you serve? And where is your heart? Where's your loyalty, your tithe, your offerings? Because honestly, a lot of people went through the motions a long time ago as little kids. Something just never clicked. They just, hey, I'm just not a religious person. I just don't get it like he does. Well, maybe you don't have a real relationship. Maybe you're not really as saved as you think you are, and you've been led into believe that that's enough, and that's good. But it is about that relationship with Jesus Christ. We have to get back to those basics in this time, especially if we're going to survive as a nation, because that's where we started. And if that's not where we finish, then we're finished. And I don't think people have put all those the pieces together, how this will work. And look at the statement about J6. That's exactly what happened. We took God there. That's a no-no. In these cases, Jonathan Gross was brilliant. They actually, in Cindy Young's case, the government submitted a video of Cindy there at the front before on the west side before she goes in. Guess who's standing there? In her video, in the one that the government. So Jonathan says, you see that guy right there with that Stop Hate sweatshirt on? Yeah, I need him as a witness. They're like, well, what? Well, he's in her video. You can't say he wasn't next to her. They didn't want me to testify in her case, but providentially, the government supplied the video that had me in it and opened the door for me to be able to testify in that case. So the things that we're getting on the record, I want people to understand. You think it's, oh, well, guilty all charges. But did you know that we got this on the record? That now when people go back and say, we have to go through all this again and find out what happened and why, they're quoting me in these court cases saying that I'm threatening jurors for saying things on social media like, these stupid jurors need an education. Don't they know what misconduct is? Don't they know they can get in trouble? If you see all the facts and you see all the stuff and you still find somebody guilty, you think there's not repercussions for that? You think somebody's not going to dig through these files in a year when Trump's back, or 2 years, and start seeing what happened and get these judges and these attorneys? And that's one of the things that the prosecutor said to me and the jury. So you're saying that jurors, if they do something wrong, they need to go to jail? I said, yes. Or attorneys, if they do.
The law.
I said, yes. And she said, or judges? I said, listen, if anyone, even a judge, breaks the law, yeah, they should go to jail. Afterwards, our lawyer asked the judge for a meeting with the jurors. You can poll them and ask them how you did. Nobody's ever done that. So the juror that stayed was one guy, and he said, listen, that David Sumrall didn't do you any favors. And he's like, why? He said, we're terrified of him. We're afraid he's going to hunt us all down. Now, think about that statement. That means he knows he broke the law, and he knows he's doing bad. It's evil. The other 11 wouldn't even stay to talk. They had to leave. So this one guy says, David Sumrall, we're scared of him, that he's going to come find us.
Oh, I like the operative word in that is we. We are all scared.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that means
so blatant in my trial. In fact, there was a woman I watched cry. And you know, Donna, we've always talked about spirits recognizing each other. I recognized her spirit throughout the whole trial. And I thought, Lord, you have put one faithful servant on that trial. I recognize her spirit. She's a born again believer. I'm telling you right now, I have a discerning spirit. I know. Yeah. And I expected her to stand up and be the only one, but I knew there was a high pressure juror sitting right next to her that was going to try to influence her. That was very demonic.
So bad.
And sure enough, she comes out and she's bawling. She knows what she gave in and did. Yep. She glances over at me and our eyes made contact, and I wasn't angry. She could sense, I knew she just betrayed me out of fear of self.
That there's so much betrayal out there. It's unbelievable. And they know. You can see it when people
she looked just
the guilt.
She looked just like Mel Gibson in Braveheart when they locked eyes. That lady was looking at Mel Gibson when he had that look like, you got me.
Yeah. She was in tears. Why? She was crying.
Oh, it's terrible, man.
She was crying. She knew what she did. And this was her Judas moment. And
Yes.
I'm not angry. I don't hate her
No.
for it. I hurt for her
Yeah.
that she just did that, because now she's got to give that account to the Lord, that one of his children, what does it say in scripture? Better for a millstone be wrapped around your neck and thrown to the bottom of the sea than to cause one of these to stumble. And that's just what she did. And she's one of his. Hopefully she loves him enough and humbles herself enough to come back and say, Daddy, I failed.
I'm
You
sorry.
gotta help me.
Forgive me. Yeah. Yeah. It's sad. I tell you what, and listen, all sin's the same in God's eyes, right?
That's
I
right.
mean, we know this. So we're not trying to get the plank out of their eye. or
Our own eye.
either
Yeah.
one. Either one. We're just admitting that there's a huge issue, and we're not judging people. I mean, this is where everybody needs to realize this is the humanity. This is the walk. This is where the feet meet the pavement thing. And we're all going through this stuff, but we're trying to figure it out. And we're trying to figure it out in that biblical godly lens and how it applies. And I think if people could separate themselves from the media curtain, like we talk about all the time, it's such a different experience. And it's not the conspiracy theory stuff. It's the reality stuff of like things like unedited video. You know, we've heard these stories forever, but have we really taken the time to be involved enough to do our own homework? Or are we just trying to get off work so we can go eat and go hang out and have a weekend and go somewhere? We have to be hands-on involved. I can't stress to people, please, do something more than you usually do. I mean, it's just getting by is not going to cut it anymore. And prepare yourself, your community, your neighborhood. Talk to your neighbors. Tell them, hey, I want you to know where I stand, and tell people this is going to be a crazy time we go into. And if you're vocal, listen, they've tried to pin me in court and say, oh, he's violent and all these things. And they can't, because I don't say that. I don't do that. I'm not that. And it makes it impossible for them. And that's how we need to be with our fellow man. Make it impossible for them to doubt your motives. There's going to be a lot of mistrust, guys. And there's going to be a lot of horrible things, in my opinion. And I'm not a fear doom guy. But even Obama said years ago, when they lose faith in the election system, it's the beginning of the end. And all they've done is push to break that whole system to pieces and force us into this position of it's his fault. No, it's his fault. No, it's their fault. We're just the ants in the jar. They're the ones shaking the jar. And that's what people really need to take a step back. I don't want to kill anybody because I don't want to be responsible for whether or not they had an opportunity to go to heaven or not. They might not be saved. I kill them. There goes their chance. See what I'm saying? I mean, that's the simplicity of it. So as a Christian soldier, I have to be very particular about how I operate my life. And that's the reality of it. But you talk about putting armor on. That's what armor's for, is a battle, guys. Whether it's physical, we don't want that. It's reading, principalities and all that. The Ephesians 6:12, just go to it. And that's where we are. It is spilling over into the real world.
Yes.
That's the demonic forces at work. That's not a conspiracy theory, and one of my friends quoted the other day, it was so funny, the DNC, with the big van and giving abortions and vasectomies. And she said, I thought that was the big fear, that eventually they would be given abortions in vans and parking lots. That was all we got to have. And now they're doing it.
That's right. With the clothes hanger, right?
It's an upside down world. I'm just saying. It's crazy.
That's weird. Okay, so a gray bearded fedora said, great to see Dave on Donna's show again. You don't get enough credit for all you've accomplished for the J6ers and their families. Power on.
Thank
So
you.
got some fans out there. So
I love that. I want to point out for J6ers, we've talked about people getting involved in some way or other, and I just want to reach out to the people that are watching this. If you've ever experienced a really tragic death near you, where your world just crumbled right then and there, and you look around and you're like, you feel like you're in a time warp because your world's destroyed, but everyone around you is laughing and they go to dinner and they got their family and they're shopping and everything's still going normal. Only your world just disintegrated. That is what is going on with every single January 6th defendant. And we're looking around going, my life's just been destroyed. My children, my husband, I had this perfect little nest. You know, me and my husband have been married 34 years. We're fixing to be put in prison away from each other for up to 9 years. Our world is destroyed. And we look around and it's like everyone's laughing and going about their normal day and clueless. And it just seems so unbelievable. And so I just want to put that plea back out there. You got to get involved. We are all connected. You have to.
You know, it's sad because we warned people. We came back from J6 and we told everyone, hey, you're next. You know, and they said, no, we didn't do stupid things, juvenile things, hitting on cops and doing pushing, shoving. Dumbasses, you shouldn't have been on the property. You should have stayed way back. What are you thinking? People died. It's all your fault. And that's where we're stuck. And we're like, no. You don't understand. We didn't do those things. That's how the media works. We're trying to tell you that they're coming for you next. And they said, no, they're not. Then they went to a school board meeting and they went up there and said, we don't like CRT. Innocent. That's not pushing, shoving, juvenile stuff. And bam, 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 FBI banging on the door. Did you say that? And they're like, what happened? We told you. Now, look, we're not telling you because we hate you. We're telling you because we love you. You're next. You're next. And if you don't get proactive, there's no opportunity to be reactive because once they bang on your door, it's too late. Ask Jalise. You're in the system. It's like you're done. There is no defense. You can't use your First Amendment. They're not going to allow that. So you're guilty before you get there. And then your life is ruined and you can't get your neighbors to pitch in $5 a month. That's the reality of where it is. A lot of people doing a lot of things that aren't helpful. They make money for themselves. Look at the whole thing with the song going on, the whole gala and all this stuff. Disgustingly sad.
What?
The gala with the song, the prisoner's record song with the, or not record, but the Trump, you know, the song they did from jail. Have you heard
No,
that?
I didn't see
The
it.
national anthem with Trump speaking in between.
I don't think I saw that.
You didn't miss much. I mean, it's
You gotta
pretty.
look that up.
Yeah, it's a great
look that up.
production. But what happened in that story is these
Oh
people.
no, I did see that. I did see that.
Yeah, and these
Yeah.
guys said, hey, we're going to help. We're going to help. And this is what we're going to do to help. And they, you know, it may be a great idea, whatever, but they set out to do what they wanted to do to help. Now, at the end of it, they made this thing. And then they said, well, it's going to help the guys that sang on the deal. Well, all the guys that sang on the deal, all but 2, had violence charges. So you can charge now, alleged, which I'm saying, it's just like Jalise and Mark did not assault the police, but they're still going to prison for it. So the money couldn't go to those guys, 18 out of 20 of them. So what do you do? So they got in this big thing about, well, it's going to be big and it's making, I mean, they got like $600 checks, you know, what is going
And
on?
it went platinum.
And now it's platinum and they're offering $50,000 seats at this gala that Trump's going to be. I'm not there. Jalise in there. Lectern guy's not there. Nobody that I don't even know if, I guess
Wow.
there's some J6ers that are there. But
Wow.
listen, long story short, I was on the phone with Angel Harrelson one night and she said, David, I got to call you back. They're about to sing. And I said, what are you talking about? Sing what? She said, they just started singing the national anthem every night. It's amazing. I said, girl, you've got to get me a recording of that. So she recorded, and it's the very first one that ever came out, and it's the haunting one with the hallway. Oh, say again. Oh, it's beautiful. And then, you know, Julie Kelly took it, and oh, look what I found. And then, you know, all this, and nobody ever said that Angel Harrelson brought that out of the prison, or that I published it, or that we spread it around. And then they take it and they run with it to do a big fundraiser to help people, and now they can't help them. So why didn't you ask how to help instead of tell us how you're going to help? Because you could have given that money to the 3 or 4 good organizations that have boards that are already in the know about how to distribute the funds and stay out of trouble. You could have just counted us in, helped us out, and we could have actually serviced our own community because we know where the needs are, because we're in contact with them like every day. We're not helping how we want to. We're helping how they need us to. These
Right.
guys come along and want to do something great. Thank you for causing a lot of controversy in our community, a lot of jealousy.
Confusion.
A lot of people that didn't get a piece of that are watching now. People have $50,000 plates. And guys like me that did a bunch of work, or Jalise that's done a bunch of suffering, that need to be at events like this to help spread this gospel message. don't even get invited. I mean, if we didn't see it online like everybody else, we wouldn't know what happened.
That's exactly what they do, because anybody that's actually doing the work, they have to keep them out of the limelight. Otherwise, they don't get the attention for building.
Because that's what it's all about.
It's all about getting the attention, and it's all about money, fame. Yes. It's about money and fame and glory.
And control the narrative.
What's that?
Control the narrative. You
got to control the narrative. And this has been rampant through the influencer groups, through the the influencer groups, through any of these things that that sometimes you hear them called patriots, P-A-Y, P-A-Y-triots, because they're all selling something or they're all doing something. And I get it. People need to be able to make a living and such. I don't begrudge anybody for making a living. However, with that said, what I do see is I see people that it always has to be on their own terms rather than actually fixing things. They split, they divide, they split, they divide, they split again, they divide, and nobody's really collaborating or working for each other because they've turned it into their own income, an industry, whatever you want to call it. It gets past helping what they originally said they were working on.
Yes.
It's just building an audience. It's just one more incarnation of fake news because they don't get to the end of it.
That has been one of the biggest problems within what's going on with J6. You only have like 3 organizations that they are all volunteer. Yeah. That they aren't taking money. They truly went like American Patriot Relief. We went into it out of complete love, not trying to get rich. And me and Mark are J6ers, and we're like, screw us, we're already on the hook. Let's go help our brothers. And here's the problem. Then the ones that jumped in it going, oh, we can't leave a good tragedy without making profit off of it.
Right.
They're own nonprofit. They're pulling 40% of the income. And I'm here to tell you right here, Donna, almost everybody that thinks they're helping the J6ers are giving to that organization, and you have padded someone's pockets that is stinking rich now because of it. Rich and famous. And here are the ones that truly, me and David here will stop it, truly know the needs of the J6ers, because my phone rings all day long with them begging for help, and I can't help them because I get all the requests because they know I'm trying, but all the money is going to someone else.
And we can tell you that those requests that are forwarded to somebody don't get the help that they deserve. And this is the reality of it. Look, I don't care if it's 5%, 10%, 25%, or 40%. If you're keeping any of the money, you're a crook. You shouldn't do that. If you don't have a day job, find something. Go do something, but don't make money off the backs of people. Here's the whole story.
Yeah,
there's 10 people that need $10. So you raise $100, but you keep 20 of it. So 2 of those guys don't get anything. That's the reality of where we are. And we can't do that. This is not.
And a good investor wouldn't do that. That's what I don't get about the donors. Yeah. When I invest, I don't want to only get a 60% return. No. Okay. If I'm giving you that kind of money, and I'm losing 40% of my return, that's not a good investment.
Not at all.
And so when I see that, I'm like, these people claim that they know how to make money, and somehow the Lord's blessed them and they're wealthy, but you're losing 40% of your investment. You're an idiot. Yeah. And that's what they're doing. That's what, and I'm sitting in a trailer house, barely staying alive, and I can figure that out.
And all you can hear coming out of it is, bless your heart, bless your heart, bless your heart.
And so it's just, it really does. It really does kill me, because I look at it from that perspective of, you've got people laying down their life and not willing to take a dime of it. And yet you're over here going, yeah, but this one will get me noticed.
That's exactly what it is.
They're getting in front of President Trump, know.
And we, this whole phrase grifter term has been.
I'm so sick of that. I'm filing lawsuits on everybody that has done it when I'm done with this.
That's good.
Because I've got the proof in my numbers and my transparency, and I plan on going after them. That word's going to be a cuss word on Twitter.
I like it. I like it. Well, and it's bad, and people call me a grifter all the time. And I get that, because we sell t-shirts like 5 a year, I think, maybe 6. I don't know. I don't push them. As a matter of fact, I give my t-shirt designs away like to
Yes,
APR.
he does.
They sell them, and that's okay. I don't make any money off that. I don't care.
He gave American Patriot Relief a shirt design, and we have sold the boogers out of that thing. And I'm like,
love it.
David, I'm sorry. I know you did such an honest thing, and I didn't know it'd go so well. But it went right back to the J6ers, which is what he does,
I gave you the dirt. I didn't know it had diamonds in it. No, it's great. No, it's really good. And that's what we do. And listen, personally, I mean, there's a couple of people that give $5, $10 a month or whatever recurring, and I mean a couple of people. And it's really nice. And I appreciate that support so much. It helps, but it doesn't in the big picture do a whole lot, and I understand that. I've never asked for it as much. I mean, like 3 times in the last 4 years, I've said, can y'all help a little bit? But I'm really not into that. I want people to know that it's something that I've invested in. My money, my time, my energy, my talents, my resources, my life, because that's the example of do the same thing. Put your money, your time, your energy, your life into this, because that's where we need to be. And I think there's not a more powerful example of that than when you're spending your own time and money. You're going to these things. Mm-hmm. I've testified 9 trials, never charged anybody a dime. It's a long drive to DC from Texas. And I've done it 10 times, including the hearing, 11 or 12. It's just, but I don't charge for this stuff because God has provided for me. I have a decent living. I'm doing all right, whatever. I'm able to donate some of my own money to some of these groups to help them.
Yes.
I'm on the boards of directors for some of these groups, and I'm still giving them, and I'm giving my time, talent, treasure. I think that goes back to the founding fathers when that's what they had on the line. And when you hear about what happened to some of them, that's the reality of where we are today. And when I tell people that J6ers are cut from the same cloth as our founding, because they won't bend a knee to tyranny. They are done. And they look, Jalise, they already got me. They already got me. That's the attitude. Okay, they got me, but I'm going to do everything I can to save the next one, to get the word out, to tell people what's going on, because the British are coming, but they're already here. And that's the motivation behind what we do and why.
And David cheers on everybody, but just like what he just said, he has been one of the #1 advocates for the J6ers, and he's done it out of his own pocket. I don't care where I go, where I've been before house arrest. David was there. David broke down that path for the rest of us to come through. And he has done it sacrificially. I mean, listen, I say this all the time. I got to say it here too. All of us didn't choose this. We got stuck. They set us up. We got stuck. Okay, it was against our will. But those advocates like David that come alongside us, they went into this battle with us to come under all this same scrutiny, attack from the government, their lives annihilated. I'm sure he's got the 4 S's too. And he did it by choice. Not because he got taken advantage of, but by choice.
I'll never know about the 4 S's. I don't like flying. I'm good. I hadn't flown since before J6, so I'm good on that. But I will say that, FBI being in my house at 5 times, coming to harass my family, none of the raid stuff, but do they really need to raid you to harass you? They need to come ask you questions about what do you do and what do you know and do you own guns and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, it's Texas, bro, and you're in my yard and look, and you're on my porch. So anyway, it's just one of those things, and so I know that that's real, and I know the sacrifice, the fuel, the time, the sleeping in the rest areas, driving there and back, in between. I mean, I had a lawyer call me Monday morning. Can you be here tomorrow? I was there at noon. It's like a 21-hour drive. So when you're on call like that for these folks, it's to try to save their lives. We've had so many people hurt themselves really bad, and we've had so many people we've been able to help not do that. Through the call line that Jalise has, through these ministries, through just being there for each other. And I think that's the takeaway for our community that we've built. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
It is. I want you to talk about the next big thing you're doing, because you are the leader of all this. You are the one that really draws the big crowd in.
Careful, they're going to call me the mastermind or something.
Right. Sorry about that. You're right.
No, it's great.
It was me, I promise. No.
Yeah, it was me. No, it was the guy in the UK, Mark. That's who I always blame it on. So
yeah, there you go.
They'd have to fly all the way over there to get him, and if they bring him back, it's like a free airline ticket. So I always say he's the J6 mastermind, Mark Sutherland, Suthe. Anyway,
yeah, he's gonna love this. I'm gonna send this to him.
He's here at my house right now. He's here at my house right now. As a matter of fact, last time he was in my house was the last time the FBI came by. And he recorded half of it on his phone.
Oh my gosh.
This is how it works. So he's back for the film fest. He's going to do a little more stuff, run around before then. But that's what's next on my list is this film festival. And everybody likes movies. And I can tell you, I'm not a movie, or I wasn't, I guess I am now. I'm a carpenter, like we said in the beginning. But I fell into this movie thing, and I've made 4. And it's crazy because I can't make anything like that. I hire the help or get the help, do the stuff. So I've got the tech guys, Daniel Goodwin, all these guys that have helped with the building, the editing of it. The research is ours. I've done thousands and thousands of hours of research. So I was trying to tell people about everything I heard and saw and learned, and they didn't care. So then we put J6 True Timeline out, and everybody went, wow, look, it's all right there. So I thought, okay, you won't listen to me, but you'll watch some stuff. Okay. So now we're doing a film festival with 12 movies, just like
that's a lot.
Just like the 12 tribes, the 12 cornerstones, or the 12 disciples. We've got 12 movies. Tell me numbers don't matter. So go to 1afilmfest.com. and you'll see these ticket sales. So what we're doing, it's a 3-day VIP event in person for 140 or so people, which is going to be amazing. The ambiance, I can't wait. The theater is a beautiful theater out in Greenville, Texas, the Texan Theater. And we're doing Friday evening.
And you get some of this sweetheart accent out here. So
it's going to be awesome. Wait till you see the video from this thing. It's going to be great. And we're feeding them some barbecue. You know, we're going to have a good time. But anyway, that's the 1A Film Fest website. And what happens if you're one of the 140 that are there, there's a VIP experience Friday night and the world premiere of J.J. Carroll's What is Treason, which doesn't come out till the 19th. So we get it on Friday the 13th, which is amazing. So everybody that's there in person gets to see that. Then on Saturday morning, the live stream starts. And we're starting with Mickey Willis, Plandemic 3. And we're going all the way through the awards ceremony Saturday night. We're doing a question and answer and then awards. It's going to be really great, but a whole bunch of films on Saturday. And then Sunday, we're kind of doing our little service, our little church service in a way. We're going to have some prayer and be together on a Sunday, but we're going to watch Bloody Hill. We're going to watch Into the Light, and we're going to watch Trump, The Crucible of Donald Trump, which are all 3 biblically based kind of films on scripture and the gospels, and Bloody Hill, the 7 abominations, and Into the Light. So that's our church.
Chills. I'm excited about that.
That's our church. So I'm super excited. Now, the beautiful thing, let me tell you, it's kind of tricky. To get the live stream, it's $25, and you can watch all weekend long, whatever. But with that, you're going to get another link in a couple of weeks after the event. So you pay one time and you're done. Or you can pay later and get for $25. You're going to get an edited version that takes out all the gaps and stuff. We're going to try to crunch it down to about 12 or 13 hours and provide it as a tool so people can host their own watch party. You buy it for $25 and you can show 10,000 people. I don't care. Get the word out. This is right before the election. There's never been a more thorough education. Nobody has ever put this many films. They're not all J6 films. It starts with a pandemic. It goes to Let My People Go about that.
Because it's all connected.
It's all connected. You'll see the same players. And one of the girls said, David, I watched the whole line. I lined them up so I could watch it, so I could experience. She said, oh my gosh. She said, I've seen all these films through the years, one by one. They're amazing films. They're all great. But when you see them all together, it's so powerful. And what I was saying, the 12 disciples, the 12 movies, these are like the gospels, y'all, because it's different perspectives, told from different people, but it's the same story through and through. It's amazing experience. I really hope that people can at least get in on the live stream. $25 for 12 movies and an award ceremony and a Q&A and interviews. We'll do a really nice after product. But if you go ahead and buy your tickets now, we would appreciate that. It helps us with the expenses and the travel and the stuff.
Tell us how to do that. Can you even get the QR code by chance on the screen?
Yeah, if they
I
just
can do it myself.
Yeah, if you get the QR code.
Because this is a faith step for me, because my sentencing is September 13th.
Yes.
And so I won't be able to attend. I obviously will be there in spirit best I can.
Yes.
But I would like to at least have that, so that anybody that ends up with my phone can continue on the legacy.
That's amazing, sister. Well, I think somebody should donate you $25 so you can just have your link and make sure.
I do not want that at all.
Come on. You don't take donations.
That's
That's
to
what
the
people don't know.
J6ers. God has been good to us. I don't listen. I don't want to encroach on what he's doing. You know, there were times with the disciples that he told them, you go out and you take nothing with you, no extra cloak, no food, and you trust the people, and you go town to town, and you bring the gospel and tell the good news. And if they do not receive you, you dust the dust off your shoes and you go to the next town.
Ezekiel 33.
That's really where I'm at. I don't need nothing from anyone anymore.
No.
I admit I started out just like everyone else going, oh my gosh, this is such a monster. But the Lord has provided for me, and I realize I'm in good with my daddy, and that's what's important. So money won't help us at this point. It just really won't.
No.
And I really need them. The money that will help us is by letting me bless my brothers and sisters.
Amen.
That
Hey, let me tell you,
joy.
you just got to see a piece of Jalise's heart, because that's how she started APR, American Patriot Relief. And that's what she said. Take me and Mark off. We never want to make a penny from APR. We just want to help the people that are in it, because we know what it feels like. We know what we're going through. And that's such a beautiful thing, girl. You made me want to cry just watching you. It's amazing.
What made me cry? But I do that every time I get on
I
here.
do. That's why I got my little thing. Dude, I'm like that, man. This is just, let me tell you guys.
Well,
this is
it's honest and authentic.
Well, it's what PTSD does to you. You can't help yourself. When you've seen as many people die as I've seen over and over and over and over and over, because you're studying and you're building and you're putting it together, you're researching, you're meeting the people, you're talking to the victims, you're working on these court cases, you're seeing everyone just get steamrolled. No matter what, you can fight your best fight. They're going down every time. And it's the hope that Jalise had. It's the hope that Rebecca had. It's the hope that Cindy had, that, hey, this is going to be the one. We've proven ourselves. We showed the jury. We showed we've showed it all. This is our moment. Thank you, God. And then it's not. And that's hard.
Yeah, that we walk in the courtroom because we know we're innocent.
Oh.
So we walk in the courtroom and we're like, we just got to show them the truth, and it's all going to be good. And it looks great through the whole trial. You see yourself defeat the prosecutors. You see the police officers, perjure themselves. You see the jurors, see the officers perjure themselves.
Yes.
And then they come back guilty on all counts, and it don't add up.
Every time. And that's the thing that people haven't seen, because they hadn't seen the inside of the courtrooms. They don't get the reporters in there every day. They don't get CNN. They can't zoom in anymore and listen. That's just, the court has protected itself from the prying eyes of the public so that they can carry out their crimes unknown. They're activists in robes. They're not judges. They're activists. And I hope that one makes it into a court somewhere. Prosecutor, man.
Probably mine.
It's okay. I'm ready. And that's the thing.
I am too.
It's being unimpeachable, and not being able to find anything wrong with our testimony, because it's true and it's consistent and it's honest and it's not violent and it's not all those things that they accuse us of, and it puts them in a really bad spot. So, I just hope people go to 1A Film Fest, learn this stuff, 1afilmfest.com. And it's real easy. 12 hours, you get the live stream, you get to
and let me tell you what's really cool about this. All the time me and Mark are talking about different films out. No, have you seen this? Have you seen that? when it comes to January 6th. And people will say, no, where do I find that? We're like, God, I don't even remember where I saw it. This is your opportunity to keep that sucker on file.
That's
and
right.
then invite friends over, and you're like, okay, what are we going to do? Well,
Donna's going to clip that part. I can tell. Keep that sucker on file. That's what I'm saying.
This is what I'm going to do right now. So this is what I do. So I grab the, link.
She's marking it down at hour, minute. Okay, I got to go cut that one. No, but
actually,
listen,
what I do is I grab the link and I stick it in my Telegram channel, which is at Brandenburg number 4MI. So at Brandenburg 4MI, and I post the things there. But so it's at Brandenburg, the number 4 and MI.
And that's on Telegram?
That's on Telegram. I do most of my stuff on Telegram because it's the best chance of not getting censored there. I have friends that have gotten kicked off of X, and everything, as good as everybody thinks they are, everything is still being moderated. And so you're getting a version of reality.
I've been kicked off a Rumble.
Yeah, I can see you. I can see that.
No, and here's the thing. No, I'm serious. So in the first year after January 6th, I had put out writing history. I was putting out those videos like destroying the Constitution. And one day my account was dead. I mean, cleared out. And you go to the links on Gateway Pundit for my movies and stuff, dead. File not found, file not found. So they erased history. All the work that we did in a stroke from Rumble.
You still have the videos?
Well, our friends called and got a hold of people that are stock owners, and I guess Bongino and some other people, and threatened the heck out of them and said, if you don't put his account back up, we're going to expose all y'all right now for, censorship. Rumble's supposed to not do this. And this is a huge account. It was so pointed at the research around January 6th. Someone complained and said, you got to take this one down. But then they put it back up and all the links were restored. You go back to Gateway Pundit, they were up again. I was just like, that's weird that they have that much control to erase history with a click of a button. So be careful.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I don't have that problem. I put it on Brandenburg News Network, and I'm not going to cancel myself.
No.
Or my guests for that matter. The only one that can censor here is me, and I don't do that.
Awesome.
So I had one guest that I took off, and that was it. And it was because it was an intentional setup, and he was being a jerk. And I told him, he's tried to talk to me since then, and I'm like, no, you blew it with me. If you're going to try to set up good people and that sort of thing, because that's what he was doing. It wasn't a discussion. It was a hostile. It was a hostile thing, and he was asking, and I warned him. I said, okay, we're gonna just stop, because we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna entertain things that are divisive.
That's
just for the sole point of setting somebody up. I do that with the reporters too. When they're trying to set things up, I will in fact turn it around. I give them a chance to run when they're doing something that's really wrong. Because there's people out there that are trying to set us up all the time. If somebody comes at me on attack, I absolutely will go after them. And this guy would not give it up. And I'm like, it was just pow. And I'm like, no, we're done with this. You want to go and be a jackass, go do it on somebody else's channel. You have the right to be a jackass all you want.
That's right.
But I also have the right not to be attacked.
Not here. Exactly. Well, I had a guy that was saying things about me online and calling me a Fed or a FBI or something. No, I think I was CIA. Was Trennis FBI? I was CIA. Is that what it was supposed to be? Anyway, they were
something like that. I was a grifter.
And then, yeah, exactly. You're the grifter. And so me and Trennis are arm wrestling over which is better, CIA, FBI. So who would win a fight between the FBI? Anyway. So this guy's going on and on, and one of my guys was like, "You need to have him on your program, on your podcast, and hash this out, expose whatever, do your thing." And I was like, "Dude, why would I give him that energy? Why would I give him my platform to sit there and beat me up when I'm never going to convince him? He's never going to come to my side. I'm not going to be able to talk him through. I've already explained all this online and said, dude, you're an idiot. Don't do this. Look." So I'm going to go. No, I'm not bringing him on my show now. 3 years later. He's the jerk. I was right the whole time. all those things he said, I could be like Jalise and say, hey, you know, I need to talk to a lawyer about all the things this guy said because he tried to do me harm or whatever. But I'm not, you know, I can't, whatever. He's just an idiot. And there's idiots out there. You have to know how to deal with them. Don't give them your energy, and definitely don't give them your platform.
Right. It's like you're going to stand in the street with these nutsy BLM, Antifa, you know, whack jobs. No, why would you do that? Why would you sit there and take that kind of abuse from somebody?
Exactly.
That would be what a stupid person would do, right? You can have a good civil discussion with somebody, but dude, if somebody's throwing pop cans at you and rocks and that sort of thing, are you just going to sit here like this and sit there and just, well, I'm just going to sit here? No, you're going to either pound the crap out of them or just leave and say, all right, your time of being nutsy here is done. So you go find somebody else to be crazy with. Find your old little crazy burrow somewhere and burrow into the ground with other crazy people, and that's great. But I'm not going to entertain this, you know?
No,
it's
no.
like, go abuse somebody else.
Well, we can't afford to. We've got real work to do and people to save. You know, you can't see the firefighter stopping to get an argument with somebody when there's a fire burning down the street. I don't have time for it either. Everything's on fire.
You know, it's like being a firefighter. This is with these nutsy people that are out there. It's like being a firefighter, and you're fighting the fire over here as they're torching with you with a flamethrower on this side.
That's right.
And why would you sit there going like this and letting them continue to try to torch you? That is ridiculous. You know, it's like, pow, turn the water on them, high pressure for a few minutes, you know, get rid of them and then go back to fighting your fire.
Well, and the education behind that, knowing how to fight a fire would come in handy, right? So that's our job is to equip these people with the information, the education, and the tools. If I can show you a dozen films, which gives you a complete education about the pandemic, the vote, J6, the aftermath, the treason, and how to fix some of this stuff, what's actually going on in real world time propaganda, can you use those tools? Is it real handy right before the election? If I show you and you learn what actually happened, are you more helpful in a discussion, even an argument, when someone's trying to tell you something, you say, but I have the truth and this is what it looks like. We're just trying to help provide the tools as we've done from day one from J6, the posters, the visuals, the hand-drawn, the t-shirt, everything that's an aid or something to help people tell the story or understand the story, the movies, the articles. That's what we're all about. And that's what this film fest, 1afilmfest.com is all about. I don't know where else. It's worth $25 just to collect all these films in one place. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely is. And I hope that's how the people get involved.
I hope so.
Because this is powerful. After you watch these, I mean, it has sparked people with American Patriot Relief to get involved. And before you know it, you're going to want to go to all your conservative groups to speak, to ask where those Republicans are at. You're going to be questioning your senators. So get involved with that.
Ask yourself a question. Have you seen any of these movies? Ask yourself a question. If I've seen any of them and I really liked it, imagine what it's going to be like with a couple leading into it and a couple after it that explain everything in a totally different way. It's so powerful. And literally just the $25 tool department. Everybody, I know everybody's tight on funds. It's not $100. You know what I'm saying? It's as affordable as it can be with the production value that we're going to have on everything. So
that's $2 a movie. Come on.
Crazy. It's crazy. And $1 tip. $1 tip.
Well, I'm going to have to leave here, guys. If you want to keep talking, we'll go, unless you want to say the prayer here. But I'm going to have to check out here for.
I need to run.
Let's close this out. Thank you for coming on, David. And yeah, I will pray us out, and y'all join in if you like. Father, we come before you as usual, just praising your name for another amazing interview. I praise you for the mighty soldiers, the Christian soldiers that you have brought to come along us January 6th defendants. Father, I feel a moving of the Spirit that you're doing miraculous things, not only in the prison, but out of the prison. I see your spirit come alive in people. I'm seeing people start to come to Christ that I never would have expected. I'm seeing them wake up and put on that full armor. And I know that that is because of you and the work you're doing through these January 6th defendants. Father, I pray that continues. I pray this turns into the Great Awakening. I pray this nation would turn its eyes back toward you, that we would bow at your feet and plead for forgiveness. that we would acknowledge the sacrifices to Moloch with all the abortions, that we would take that upon ourselves as all of us having a responsibility in it, and praying on behalf of the lost that this nation could be redeemed. We love you. We thank you for all that you're doing in our lives. Amen.
God, please let your favor rest mightily upon Jalise and Dave and everyone out there that's fighting, and let everyone that they're out there know that they're loved, and help them to hear your voice. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, boys and girls, this is part of the show where we go to ding, 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 go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com. That is, I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the world. I would like to have a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, about this. Just so you know, guys, have a great weekend. Be back on Monday, and same bat time, same bat channel here, moving forward and trying to help people who have had their voices stolen. So with that said, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. It's a choice. It starts here. Make your attitude good. Toughen up. Buck up a little. Heart or head, heart, and God. And if you don't have a good example, be one. Have a great day. Stay on the line for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and end this. And I wish you guys could hear it all, because it's always fun after we get offline.